Today, 2021, my pleasure to be with you. Today on the key points, political tough talk, John Mahama's do or die comments inciting violence, Agenda 111 versus abandoned hospitals, an issue of priorities. That's what we're talking about today. Also, it's been 20 years since the September 11 attacks. Certainly the world has not been the same since then. Many, particularly in the US, were severely hurt and impacted by the attacks. And our thoughts are with them and the United States as the world commemorates the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. We're live here on hashtag The Key Points on TV3 and 3FM 92.7, as well as live around the world at 3news.com. But if you're not home, if you're on the move, you can follow us via your phone. Just join our Facebook page, TV3 Ghana, and also our Facebook page for 3FM. Between now and 10 a.m., we welcome your messages via our WhatsApp line, and it's 055-369-8789. That's 055-369-8789. You can also tweet at TV3 Ghana, at 3FM 92.7. You can also tweet at me, Beho Bampo, on Twitter, and I'll share your messages. And I see that some of you have already sent messages ahead since yesterday, and I'll be reading them. So you can also join that conversation online. Also remember that we are live on 3news.com. My name is Jifa Bampo, and this is The Key Points. We take a quick break. We'll be right back.
This is the Big Five. Jeanette Services presents Women in Worship. Themed The Grace Experience, featuring the VGMA Artist of the Year, Diana Hamilton, the incredible Mercy Chinwell, and the amazing Judy Kay from Nigeria. With support from Florence Obinim and Celestine Donkor, Daughters of Glorious Jesus, and Obapa Christie. Date Sunday, September 19th. Venue UPSA Auditorium, Medina. Gates open at 4 p.m. Tickets are selling for 70 Ghana Cedis single and 120 Ghana Cedis double at Airport Shell, Bachelor Total, UPSA, or purchase via www.myticketghana.com. For VIP family packages or ticket reservations, call 0248-810-396. Women in Worship is proudly brought to you by Fortune Rice and Onga, and supported by Fritol Oil, Electroland Ghana, Fan Milk, Unilever, Ophelia Crossland, Velma Accessories, ABS Collection, ATL Fabrics, Better Malt, Awake Purified Drinking Water, and Econad Entertainment. Media partners, Media General. Women in Worship. Daughter, you still have a voice.
Introducing Nestle Milo All-in-One Nutrimix. The goodness of malt, milk and cocoa in Milo, and even more milk. Just add to water and enjoy the perfect cup of winning energy. Milo! Milo! This advertisement has been vetted and approved by...
Do you know how to solatido, or you know how to blow all the bars? Then your time has come to be the next global icon on Mentor X. Who will take over from the lyrical Kwekubani and climb out the music industry to be the next global icon? If you're in the Northern Belt, catch the Mentor Audition training Tamale on the 17th of September at the Radash Hotel at 8 a.m. Applicants from the Middle Belt will converge at Maitland Hotel, Kumasi on the 19th of September 2021. The Western and Central Belts can join us at
Akroma Plaza Hotel,
Takrady on the 21st of September. Finally, Southern Belt auditions will take place on the 24th and 25th September 2021 at TV3 at the Sawe Kanda.
This is the one and two of the black girls out to rock.
Nationals from other African countries can also compete in Mentorex. If you come from any other African country but live in Ghana, you can also join us at any of the audition centers to book your spot in the competition. It's the 10th edition of TV3 Mentor. Mentorex takes you higher.
Done. Why DJ God damn it? 113 plus 100. 100, the one, the two.
Fighting. I'm fighting.
Touch my butt. Who painted the Mona Lisa? Wrong. How many days are there in a normal year?
12.
Wrong.
365.
Celebrity Fun Time, starting this Saturday, 5 p.m. on TV3.
They have many things in common. Their taste for what's trending, eagerness to spill the news, excitement to share a new recipe, readiness to commit, willingness to book that event. Ultimately, the vibe to make your imaginations go wild. The Ladies Circle.
Every Saturday, 6 p.m. on TV3. Brought to you by
Yaz Sanitary Pad, Vodafone, GTP, still timeless.
Woodin.
This Saturday on Music. Let me see your better dance move right now. With a big round of applause, let's welcome upstage Epic Soul.
Jah is mine and my shelter. He gives me food and water. I got a million things, million style, got a million skill, million fake but few. I've seen a lot of girls who they may last star. You see the valides are paid in dollar. Duty so high, goods they rot for the border. Music, you know they get royalty, they give you money for creative industry. And they suffer.
Music shows every Saturday at 8 p.m. on TV3. Don't miss it. We are Africans not because we are born in Africa, but Africa is born in us. Yes, let's burst your bubbles this week on Ghana's Most Beautiful with educative and entertaining fillers on Africa as the ladies explore the world's largest continent with some of nature's greatest wonders.
The journey of life is one that is bizarre.
In life, it is always important to know who you're dealing with.
Join us this Sunday live from TV3 Studio B at 8 p.m. on TV3. To keep your favorite delegates in the competition, dial *713*13# or download the TV3 Reality app on Google Play Store or the App Store and follow the prompts. Studio audience is strictly by invitation. GMB 2021, rediscovering true beauty. GMB 2021 shows Sundays at 8 p.m. and repeats Fridays at 3 p.m. and is sponsored by Lavon's Tomato Mix, Camel now from Kerex, Freedom from Casaprecon, GTP, Darling Lemon Drink,
Airtel Tigo's big time bundles,
Lufat, Deluxy acrylic paint, Heaven Black mosquito spray and coil, and Napa mackerel,
Geisha, close up,
Ayo Insurance, Fun Milk Nutri Day yogurt, and supported by
You're welcome back to the Key Points. Thank you very much for joining us. Is do or die the mantra for the NDC for the 2024 polls? Well, former President John Mahama has been in the news all week for what? His do or die comment during his tour of the Bono regions. And he reiterated this comment on Techiman Bay's Akina FM. And he justified it. But let's hear what he's been saying.
Put a ballot paper. For everyone that we arrested, one ballot paper. About 100 we didn't arrest. It even me sure say there was a lot of stuffing of the ballot boxes. We share BBR machine also. Now share ballot papers our box. Ballot papers nobody also change number or BBR also. It was a very election to me say you understand, but Supreme Court say make one so for the peace of this nation. He now recognizes the man Nana Akufo-Addo. He is the recognized leader. We've accepted the Supreme Court judgment. But the point is, yes, the BCP are now audition answer. Yes, the 2020 answer. Elections, no, it will be won or lost at the polling station.
I see.
And the polling station, they better do or die. Because all die, be die. They better do or die. The right thing must be done. 2024 polling station and you better win the election. You train collation center and the Supreme Court debut. Collation center and the polling station. We will do everything to make sure that the election is free, transparent, and fair. Young person here, MPP for we don't want to cheat them. Yes, young person will be able to my banning French na Ghana for Peno, Ghana for Akumasono. Let that. Don't abdicate your responsibility at that level. Maintain sign is a do or die affair. It's an English idiom. Obianko be in the dictionary and see what do or die means. It's different from all die be die.
And that's former President John Mahama during his thank you tour of the Bono regions. But you know, reactions have been coming in thick and fast. And the governing MPP is not keeping quiet here. Now, Nana Obri-Buahin, the Deputy General Secretary, and John Buedu, the General Secretary of the party, had this reaction.
Or die, do and die, die and do die. They all mean one thing. The bottom line is that to be forewarned is to be forearmed. And therefore, some of us, we belong to a tradition which you cannot, as it were, make the slightest attempt to humiliate or to embarrass or to bully us. So you should bring it on. Do or die, do and die, die and do die. They all mean one thing. The bottom line is that to be forewarned is to be forearmed. And therefore, some of us, we belong to a tradition which you cannot, as it were, make the slightest attempt to humiliate or to embarrass or to bully us. So you should bring it on. Do or die, do and die, die and do die. They all mean one thing. The bottom line is that to be forewarned is to be forearmed. And therefore, some of us, we belong to a tradition which you cannot, as it were, make the slightest attempt to humiliate or to embarrass or to bully us. So you should bring it on.
John Mahama lack of electoral preparedness
which he blames on everybody but himself, stems from his own admission of indecisiveness as a leader. His own observations about his lack of decisiveness in his famous autobiography reflects where he is now. This is the man who has been MP, deputy minister, vice president, president, and a losing presidential candidate 2 times on the trot. He is the greatest beneficiary of high-profile positions within the NDC, yet he still does not realize and appreciate that leadership is about service. He cannot understand that leadership is about vision. He does not know that leadership is about hope. We will not spend precious hours persuading him of the error of his ways. John Mahama's deeds and utterances will continue to expose the incompetence and desperation again and again. As the indecisive and visionless person he is carefully building, incompetent and desperate John Mahama should be given no space to come to the corridors of power. The best way forward for Ghana is the MPP way, and has been the MPP way.
And those were reactions from the Deputy General Secretary and the General Secretary of the ruling New Patriotic Party. Let's welcome our guests this morning. To the far end is Alasan Suhuyini, MP for Tamale North. You're welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning.
All right, and Joseph Pemka. Oh, I beg your pardon. I'll rather go to the next. And that's Professor Ransford Jampo, Associate Professor, Political Science, University of Ghana, and the head of Youth Bridge Research Institute. Thank you, Prof, for joining us. And Honorable Joseph Pemka, former Deputy Attorney General and former MP for Timpani. This is your first time joining us as well. Thank you.
Well, I've been here a number of times.
Not with me.
Not with you.
Not with me, yes. So great to have you all. So I'll start with the Honorable Suhuyini. So John Mahama has been in the news all week, and it's part of his thank you tour, but not necessarily just for the tour, but because of what has now become the controversial do or die comments. Is that the mantra going into 2024 already?
Well, good morning to Prof, good morning to Honorable Kanka, and good morning to our viewers, especially the very good people of the Tamale North constituency. And thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. Yes, John Mahama has been in the news. I think on Monday it was about his lecture on the economy, and then later in the week, this comment, the do or die comment, gained some currency in the media. Some of the things that have been said under normal circumstances would have been taken as good feedback in good faith. But for the, double standards that it exposes in our, society, I have said repeatedly that it seems to me that in this country, a conduct or speech is admitted by some commentators in the public space to be wrong only when a similar conduct or statement is made by the NDC. Maybe just for purpose of clarity, I repeat that it seems to me that a conduct or statement or speech is admitted by some to be wrong only when the NDC repeats it. But you see, thank God for the fact that similar does not mean the same. Similar does not mean the same. In this country, when the president, then opposition leader, made his infamous comment, all die be die, I know some media houses, in fact many media houses, that didn't even want to broadcast it, didn't even conduct discussions on it. And maybe their excuse was that they didn't want to publicize it because it was dangerous, but they didn't say that on air. They didn't conduct discussions on it, they didn't promote it, because they said it was unethical you know, at their editorial meetings. But you see, it's become fashionable to do a comparison and have a discussion and then get, you know, people who at the time may have condemned all die be die in their bedrooms to now speak out and condemn do or die. But at the time all die be die, even if they condemned it in their bedrooms, they did not have the boldness to do so publicly. But today you have them all speaking out. And that's what I'm saying. Under normal circumstances, you would have taken all of the good and the bad in good faith as good feedback.
So for you, the NDC is held to a higher standard.
Yes. That's the point. That's the point. And it is obvious. I mean, anybody who has followed, you know, some of these things cannot deny the point that I've made about how people were not, you know, bold enough to speak out. I mean, I have, for example, checked around to see some institutions I have heard speaking on the do or die, and I can't find their positions on the all die be die.
You've been doing an online search?
Yeah, I've been doing an online search. I can't find it. You know,
but all die be die was severely condemned.
Well, in most cases, even those who condemned it were seen to be engaged in partisanship. In fact, Chief, I was in the media at the time. I recall that the discussion around all die be die, especially at my media house, was that the comment was not even seen as dangerous as what they said, the spin the NDC and others were putting on it. That was the argument that people made. Oh yes, it may be bad, but you see the spin on it. But the spin is being done now. And like I said, it would have been taken in good faith, but for the fact that we need to expose this hypocrisy. But moving forward, I said that similar is not the same. Similar is not the same. So all die be die was what it was. And as President Mahama has explained, and you see, many sometimes tend to underestimate his intelligence. Even in his first interview, when he said the do or die, he was mindful to point out that I am not saying all die be die. And he has gone ahead to defend that and to point to what people perhaps at the time did not avert their mind to. That do or die is an English phrase, it's an idiom. It's an idiomatic expression. So it is not about how you and I want to understand it or interpret it. Because we are not Englishmen. We all taught English. So it's about learning. It's about understanding. It's about what the Englishman says it is. It is not what you want it to be or how you want to interpret it to be. It is not about how I interpret it to be or how Prof interprets it. It's what the Englishman says it is. And the Englishman says that it is persistence even to the point of death. That is the idiomatic expression, the meaning of that idiomatic expression. It is persistence even to the point of death. And the irony of the spin is that you even hear people say that it's a call to violence. How does persistence to the point of your own death amount to killing somebody? How? How does persistence to the point of your own death to ensure that the right thing is done equated to attacking and killing people? And that is what we must understand. And you hear people say, for example, okay, yes, so we understand that it's an idiomatic expression, we know its meaning, but given our society, it is possible that it can be misunderstood. Fair enough. But then again, why do we seek knowledge? To keep it only for ourselves? Why? Is it not then an opportunity for us to educate people that this is not a call to violence, this is what the Englishman says do or die means? Why do we assume that the understanding we have, the majority of our people cannot be educated to have that understanding of do or die? Why do we put a spin on it? Is it for a political, aim or agenda? Why don't we educate our people to get the same understanding that we have had after, even if it is after referring to our dictionary? So the point has to be made that all die be die may be similar to do or die, but they are not the same. The man was careful in the choice of his words. And if you permit me, I'll give you 2 examples of do or die, maybe 3. But for that persistence that you saw on 7th January, we would not have had a member of the minority party being a Speaker of Parliament. You all saw what happened. The persistence that the minority, put up. That Ghana is celebrated today for having a minority, member of the minority member of the, ruling class being the Speaker of Parliament.
But there was some violence. We all saw that there was attempt to grab people. The ballot had to be done 3 times.
You see, if you are persistent, if you ever think that people who are determined to do wrong will sit aloof and respond to your call not to do wrong. That is why the police call minimum force. Yes. They call minimum force. They call it minimum force. You don't think that people will not, people who are determined to do wrong will not necessarily change their ways because you say they should change. That is why the word persistence is there.
Okay.
Then secondly, Savelugu, the Savelugu constituency today, it's held by the NDC because of the persistence of polling agents of the NDC there. What happened? At the end of voting, an electoral officer whose background is known to be a member of the New Patriotic Party got up, tore the presidential ballot paper, voted, and thanks be to God, when he was going to drop the ballot, not only was he seen by the NDC agent, he also dropped it in the parliamentary box instead of the presidential box. The NDC agent raised alarm. It turned into an argument. They had to bring in the security. They persisted for 2 days, from the polling station to the electoral office to the police district office in Savelugu, and finally to the regional headquarters of the police. At the regional headquarters, the NPP insisted that polling station results be cancelled because, according to them, a foreign material had been introduced, and so they shouldn't even open the box. The NDC insisted that the box should be opened because the man was not a registered member of the polling station, but voted according to him because he could not go to his station to vote, and so he voted only presidential. So the NDC said, look, if it is presidential, we can open the box and remove the presidential ballot and then determine the number of votes for the MP. But the NPP insisted they should cancel. Why? Because if they had cancelled that polling station results, the NPP would have won. For 2 days, the party executives, together with the regional executives, the constituency executives, persisted and insisted that the right thing be done. In the end, the electoral officers with the police, agreed for the ballot to be open. It was counted, and the NDC won that seat by 99 votes. We all know what happened in Techiman. Even when people persisted, they were shot and killed. People are not condemning that. People don't think that is a threat to our democracy. The fact that for the first time during our elections, people were shot and killed for demanding that the right thing be done is not considered a threat to our democracy. A simple idiomatic expression, very well explained, is rather considered a threat and should be condemned.
Okay, I think you've expatiated much on this. So let me take Honorable Joseph Pemka's view, because it seems the MPP has spent quite some time reacting this week. 2 press conferences, first to former President Mahama's comments on the economy, and now this. Your General Secretary says the former president and his party are desperate. But if you have to respond twice within a week, that may rather be deemed to be desperate. If it's not important, you wouldn't.
Thank you very much. And good morning to my brothers. Good morning to you, and good morning to your cherished viewers. let's first look at the context of whatever was said and play it against the backdrop of our Ghanaian society. Then we'll get to know a very clear picture of what we are dealing with. You see, I, as a politician, I believe in decorum. I believe in, being speedy, but being careful in achieving a desired goal. Let me make a reference to something very important, then I can take off from there. The most destructive element in history has been vaulting ambition. In a book, Macbeth, it was said that I have no spare to prick the side of my intent, but only vaulting ambition which overleaps itself and falls on the other. On the score of that vaulting ambition, Macbeth had to murder the king who paid compliments to him by coming to stay in his house in order to succeed the throne. I'm saying this within the context of the fact that if any ordinary member of the society goes out there to express himself or herself and says that elections will be a do or die affair, I may give that person the benefit of the doubt. But you have a person, a well-placed and respected person of our society, high profile, who has occupied the highest position of this country. And he just didn't jump there. He started from the grassroots. And by dint of grace and hard work, he got all the way up there as the #1 gentleman of the country. Goes to a radio station, and my brother conveniently stayed away from something very important, which I have to draw your attention to. He didn't just use the idiomatic expression, do or die, and left it there. There were antecedents. He preceded it with certain statements. And what did he say? One of the things he said was that they did not contemplate going to the Supreme Court anymore. And I wanted my brother to have responded to that. Because going to the Supreme Court is a right that accrues to you if you come to the unequivocal conclusion that the declaration that was made was not a reflection of the votes that were cast. If you come to that determination, then you can proceed to the Supreme Court to vindicate your right. So if, without going into an election, you dismiss the idea of going to the Supreme Court, and you say that it will be settled at the polling station through a principle of do or die, which you say is an idiomatic expression.
He's not saying it. That's what it is.
Hold it, hold it. I'm going to address all that, and I was very quiet and I never interrupted you.
Sorry, please go.
You see, if you engage in this kind of politicking, and then it blows up at the base in your face, you may not be able to handle whatever will be the outcome of that catastrophe. You'll not be able to. And you have no idea the number of people who will be ready to die for him to be president. You have no idea.
But the point is, if former President Mahama feels that the courts haven't been fair, I mean, it may be fair for anyone to say that if they've been aggrieved by the courts, not even just elections, someone may just say that, look, I'm going to try and avoid a situation where I have to go back to court again so that I achieve what I need to achieve.
You see the interesting thing? Former President Mahama, you see, has gone to the Supreme Court twice. One by himself, the other he was sent there. And you know the first time, what happened? The declaration was made in his favor. So that was right. The other one that it was made against him was wrong. So anytime a case is sent to court, it must be in his favor for there to be a vindication of rights. Because in 2012, 2013, we had election petition. It was resolved in his favor. Then in 2020, there is a petition by him. It is resolved against him. And he says that that is injustice. It is only just, fair and equitable when it is in his favor. Anything that is against him is unfair. That's interesting then. But the point is this. If you look at our history as a country, and if I have to stretch this, even he himself has at one point or the other made statements to the effect that the NDC comes from a revolutionary background. I even listened to the voice this morning, even before I came here. They come from it, and if it is unleashing violence, nobody will be able to match them and all that. And then you come later and say that next election, you do not contemplate going to court, everything will be settled at the police station, it's going to be a do or die affair. That idiomatic expression, do or die, does not lend itself to just one meaning as you stated. It doesn't. It has several other meanings. And even you gave one, and you talked about the fact that you persevere even to the point of death in order to achieve that. Look, when you send out this type of message, unrestrained to the unsuspecting grassroots, and you do not take care, they will take the law into their own hands, and the outcome of it, the consequences, will be something you perhaps never anticipated.
But Honorable Kpemka, how can you justify all die be die? And I remember I also did programs back then on all die be die, and I know some NPP people who backed it for them. And you talk about John Mahama making preceding comments before this. I remember at that time, current President Akufo-Addo, then candidate Akufo-Addo, made preceding comments saying that, oh, we have showed them a little bit of what we could do at Etiwa. And so all die be die. It's not right, nonetheless. How do you condemn another party?
Madam Jifa, with the greatest of respect to you, this morning, before I came here, the topic that was given to me was a review of do or die. That is the topic that I was given. That we are going to discuss a statement made by former President Mahama, do or die. There was no indication that the topic for discussion was all die be die. Nobody gave me that topic for discussion. And in any case, when it came up, it was given an exhaustive discussion in the media and other fora for a very long period.
It continues
it's
to
been
be
9 years.
It continues to be a subject of discussion.
Of course. But what I'm saying is that
tell you the impact.
What I'm saying is that yes, you can say that that statement was made. We should continue to discuss it. But for now, the focus is on a statement made by the former president to the effect that 2024 elections is going to be a do or die affair. That is what we are reviewing.
Okay, but
and what I'm saying is that...
Is it the same as all die be die? I mean, Honorable Suhini says similar is not same.
The question you should be asking yourself fundamentally is not whether we are comparing two statements, but whether or not what the former president said was right. That's all that we are supposed to look at. We are not to be doing comparisons. Otherwise, what we are going to be doing will be to engage in justification of each person's side. I will say that maybe if during my era 28 people died and then during your era 1 person died, then I'm better than you because 1 person died during my era and 28 people. That's not what we are discussing. What we are discussing is what is the potential that the statement has to influence the masses out there going into 2024. And let me say that you can make a statement, as he himself has come back to start clarifying and explaining that we can go open dictionary and etc. How many of the people at the grassroots will understand what he was talking about? You say, do or die. And people have started branding t-shirts with levels of bravado unimagined in history. And then those people go out there and misunderstand this concept, take the law into their own hands, create mayhem, chaos, and there's destruction of lives and property. So we have an outcome of election. And we are saying that if we anticipate, looking at the background and our history, if we anticipate that this statement can lead us to that land that we never want to be, then we ought to condemn it. And there's nothing wrong with retracting it and apologizing. Instead of trying to justify it as though we are in a lecture room, English classroom. It's an idiomatic expression. You can go and check it. Look, do or die, as I indicated, it can be a situation where you persevere in order to achieve an aim. And sometimes, even if it means you have to die to achieve it. achieve what?
So
even if you have to die in order to make sure that
so
NDC...
the people who are saying it, they might be the one who are willing to die. It may not be the other side. It may not be their opponents who may be the ones dying.
So in that effort, is it going to be suicide?
So you can accuse him for calling for suicide, but you can't say he's...
It will mean that there will be a reaction from the other side. There will be a reaction from the other side. That perseverance to the point of death is not suicide. It means that if you persevere and you meet stumbling blocks, continue to persevere, even if it means you die in the course of it for somebody to win an election, do it. If that is it, there will be total chaos and pandemonium in our society. And the very little that we have achieved for ourselves as a democratic nation can be derailed with this statement. You see, Jifa, I have been listening carefully to commentators, CSOs and etc., individuals, well-placed persons. And let's be very honest. I think I read something about
Professor Jampo's comments.
And then I read, and I think that he had a point. You see, because you see, if you are commenting on an issue of this nature, you need to place it in a certain context. What is the context? The context is that in 3 years and a few months from now, we are going to go into an election. The man lost an election and took the matter to the Supreme Court. He lost the verdict at the Supreme Court by a unanimous decision of the Supreme Court. He feels that even the Supreme Court itself erred in the decision against him. And he says that, look, this time round, we are not going there. We shall not be going to court. And I was just imagining something. You recall, in 1996, the parliamentary election in Ayawasu, West Wuogon. Do you recall that infamous incident that happened there?
Isaac Amu
and Rebecca Adote.
Yeah.
What happened? They had tabulated the results. And in just pronouncing the results, they turned it the other way around. That was what the Electoral Commission did. And it took 4 years to determine that in court. It took 4 years to determine that in court. But in the end, a pronouncement was made that the one who was declared winner was actually not supposed to be the winner. But by a very weird decision, the court said that, however, in the circumstances, they would not be able to say that the other person should leave parliament because it would bring grave suffering and those kind of things. That is a clear example that will guide us in history. However, if there is a constitutional provision that says that a person aggrieved by a declaration made by Electoral Commission in terms of presidential election ought to present a petition to the Supreme Court, and you have dismissed that even before going into the election, then what are you saying?
Okay.
What are you saying?
Okay, let me bring
Are you coming to the conclusion that that option is not available? The only option that is available is that we go there and settle it at the polling station.
No, the option is available. They choose not to take it. But let me bring in Professor Jampo, who is a long-time governance analyst, done a lot of work with the political parties, and is an associate professor of political science. Two things. Is the NDC held to a higher standard? And Honorable Penka says we should not be doing comparisons. We should look at whether the comment is right or not.
I usually do not want to be sandwiched between two politicians because they make matters difficult for me. But the point is simple. To say a do or die is within the proper context, and then if you want to look at what exactly it means, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's been explained over and over. So if you want to do something and you want to achieve whatever desired results you have, and they say you're going to do it in a do or die manner, ideally it's not a big deal. But my colleague, my friend here narrated the context within which that statement was made, and context would have every influence on the meaning of whatever expression that you may make. And the other bit is that like Suhini rightly said, English is English. Okay, English is not our language. Even we, that people call professors, when we write our articles and you send it abroad, they come and tell you that you don't understand the English language. Okay, and so when you are speaking to a people whose understanding and or appreciation of the language is not so much high, you must be mindful. You don't put out expressions for others to go and explain. If you are a communicator, one of the principles of leadership, a leader must be able to communicate effectively. And that means that ability to say what you mean and mean what you say in a manner devoid of ambiguities and misinterpretation. Now, if you have to communicate and come back to explain what you meant, it means you didn't do effective communication. And so I am thinking that President Mahama could have used other expressions to make his own, to make that same point without...
Is it the die in it that is the problem?
Well,
it seems fundamentally that is the issue.
No,
the fact that there is the word die.
No, the point is that the point is that look at. I talk to people to be able to write and to be able to earn a living, and if you speak to people, this statement, which is supposed to be harmless in the English, language, has fired them up, and all of a sudden they are beginning to assert themselves and be talking about certain things that makes you believe that tomorrow, if they say Jack, they'll fight and they want to do all manner of things. And I'm saying that this is not quite good for our democracy. And so, given how polarized we are as a nation, we don't have to do our best to defend good idiomatic expressions that are susceptible to misinterpretation. Let's not do that. If you can say it in a manner that is devoid of ambiguity, go ahead and use that expression. But you see, given our history and given that elections have oftentimes, before time, elections have led to implosion, violence, and death. Nobody wants to hear anything that has to do with death in your explanation, particularly as you are seeking to win political power. That aside, I think that our politics must be tempered with principles. It appears that our politicians, both the NDC and MPP, are staffed by people who have thrown principles to the dogs, and they make it difficult for us to teach political science, introduction to political science. It's difficult because you are always compelled to explain that the game of politics is not necessarily a game of deceit. It's not necessarily a game of lies. You see,
But is it not true that there were lots of issues at the 2020 polls?
No.
And had the NDC also not tried to stand steadfast? There were issues with the electoral process for the Speaker in Parliament. If they were not steadfast,
there were so many issues with the 2020 polls. We cannot pick and choose. You see, core among the issues of the 2020 polls, particularly in relation to what the NDC went through, was the fact that they themselves, either they were incompetent or lazy in accounting for the ballots. You have issues with the every opposition party has an issue with the election management body. That is wrong, but I mean that's been our history from 1992. Every opposition has issues with the election management body, no problem. So if you have issues with the election management body, then you should be able to be vigilant and you should be proactive in collating your own results so that you don't depend on the results of the election management body that you don't trust. But in 2016, they said we are in a comfortable lead. You couldn't produce independently collated results to support that. 2020, when you went to court, they said, do you have your results? He said, we didn't bring it. And so the point is,
but you can because the Supreme Court made a decision about pink sheets.
Well, the point is
but
this.
But at the end of the day, the election management body, for good or bad, we have to trust it. We have to believe.
No, you have to. But I'm saying that what others have done to win election has been that they are always able to produce their own independently collated results to compare with what the EC is also producing, so that you are able to assertively make a claim that, look, we did this and this is what we had. So my point is that you can go a do or die route, but if you are not proactive enough in independently doing some of these things, collating your own results, you will still lose. But let's put that aside. I wanted to say that politics, and continue on that tangent, that our politics must also be tampered with principles. What hurts me is the stance that have been taken by the two sides. You see, those who condemned all die be die are defending do or die. And those who praised all die be die are speaking against do or die. And I ask myself, what do politicians in Ghana take? I mean, do they think that our heads are not properly screwed on? Can't we think? So all of a sudden, Joseph Kwenka is saying that we shouldn't be talking about do or die, or die be die, but we should look at.
Well, that's not the topic for discussion.
But the point is that you cannot do any meaningful analysis of what is going on without having a certain we should
look at the past so that we don't make the same mistakes.
Professors of history. It means history is important. Okay, so my point is that you display cheaply hypocrisy when you supported all die be die, and then you are now condemning do or die without showing us your political repentance. So I was expecting him to say that yesterday we said something like that. Ghanaians condemned us, Ghanaians criticized us, and in a manner that forced our presidential candidate to, even in 2015, come out openly to apologize. And so we feel it is not good. And if President Mahama wants to go that route, we leave that to the conscience of Ghanaians. Then you exonerate yourself. If you want to go ahead to criticize, then you may have made admission that you said some and it was wrong. We have not done that. Now, NDC, you took President Mahama, President Akufo-Addo to the cleanest when he used all that be die. He said all manner of things. Now we are drawing your attention to the fact that what you said is susceptible to misinterpretation. And don't tell me that it's English language, because it's not your language. We all don't. English is not our language.
So
let us be truthful to ourselves.
Isn't that why Honorable Suhini says we should refer to what the meaning in the English?
No, but why should you communicate for me to go to the streets to begin to educate people as to its meaning? It means you are not a communicator. You do not understand the dogmas of effective communication. Say what you mean what you say, and do it in a manner devoid of ambiguity. So that the moment you say we know what we are talking about.
Okay, Honorable Suhini, so do or die, whether the meaning is about perseverance to the point of death.
You gave them more time. I'm not done. Please, you gave them. No, you see, these people.
I think you ended on a very nice
These people, when you give them the chance, they'll take all the chance. So you see, I am. Let me be my referee.
Okay, what's your final?
Let me be my referee.
I think you ended really nicely.
No. But Gifa, what I want to end on is that, you see, the two political parties are seeking to govern to bring about development, but they themselves, they do things that undermine development. What do I mean? We cannot be campaigning in perpetuity. We should have times set for electioneering campaign. Now we held 2020 elections, it's not 1 year, and campaign has started. So I'm thinking that if the NDC is in power, it must be given time to govern up to a certain point before we say, let us campaign. The same must happen to MPP, so that you wouldn't be distracted. Those governing would not be distracted, and now, so you have to go and respond to, you have to also say things, and then people are getting distracted. And when policymakers and those who have been given the fiduciary responsibility to govern get distracted, it is you and I who suffer.
Right. Well, maybe to some extent I agree with some of the points that have been made by Prof.
To all extent.
To some extent.
Not to some extent. To all
extent.
And
well, for example, I don't agree that Nana Akufo-Addo apologized for all die in 2015. You will see a headline, and that's part of the propaganda that sometimes we miss. You see the headline that says apologize, but read the story and read the quotes attributed to him, where he said he was misunderstood. He said he was misunderstood, that the statement was misunderstood. But yes, the propaganda, story writer will give a headline that suggested that he apologized, but he didn't apologize in 2015. In fact, T-shirts were printed by, people, if Joseph is worried about T-shirts being printed now. They were printed and actually worn on sets like this by very leading members of the New Patriotic Party. But then again, Prof, the point I made earlier should not be ignored. The fact that similar is not the same. Yes, I agree that all die be die is similar to do or die, but they are not the same. And that is why perhaps you will find some of us who criticize all die be die making reference to the fact that why don't we make the effort to understand do or die? What was the meaning of all die be die? What was the possible other meaning of all die be die beyond the recklessness with which it was said? It's your cry, it's trouble baby kakra. So that's what this election will die be die. I mean, to some effect.
You are trying to make. No, but that's what
I'm just mimicking. No. Joseph, you come back to me.
You see, we are dealing with a discerning public.
Joseph.
Let him make his point.
I spoke here, and I spoke about what preceded the statement "do or die." I spoke about that.
Yes.
But he's conveniently running away from what preceded that statement that was made by the then candidate Nana Addo.
I am still developing the point.
He's running away from that.
I am developing the point.
He spoke about the fact that we are in a situation where if care is not taken, we'll be driven to a point of no return. He gave a very long narration before he came to that and said, but if you get to a certain point and you run away, you'll be killed. If you stand there, you'll be killed. That was how he drew the analogy. Joseph, you can condemn it.
I can remind you.
You can condemn it.
I can remind you.
Don't take him out of context.
Okay, but that was part of it as well.
So the point I was seeking to make, Doc, is that similar is not the same. And that in the context within which all die be die was said, I mean, it was difficult for you to give it any other interpretation, especially because we don't even have, an acknowledged definition of all die be die, unlike we do in the case of do or die. There's no dictionary that will tell you what all die be die means.
It's a pigeon.
Exactly. So the only interpretation you are left with is to put it within the context that it was said, and then come out with the possible meaning. And this was a man bragging about how they had beaten people who they said were Azoka boys in Etiwa by-election. Where he said, yeah, Chomo Bibi Kakra, we have shown them something small.
Okay, but I think
beyond that,
the point Prof makes is that, and I think Honorable Pempa made the point, that in being persistent to the point of death, you alone may not die. Other people may die. And knowing that even leading NDC members in Parliament have filed a case in court about the deaths that happened in Etiwa, nobody wants to talk about or put death in the equation of elections.
I understand that, but maybe before I address that, let me just also address an issue Prof raised. The fact that, it is suggested that the NDC did not collate results. I don't know how many times we have to say that we did. And we have all the results. We did. But our case in court was not like the case of the NPP in 2016. We have said that repeatedly. That conveniently and maybe it is not done deliberately by people like Prof, but they feed into the MPP agenda that the NDC failed to collate results. We did collate our results, and we said that by our results, we won parliamentary majority, but no candidate, no presidential candidate got the 50+1. That was our position, and we have said it so many times.
When you were asked how many votes you got, what was your answer in the Supreme Court?
That is again, the Supreme Court case was different. The approach and tactics were all different. I don't want us to go. I don't want us to go too much, but I just needed to make the point that the NDC has its results. We have a machinery in place that collated our results. Even after the elections, before they went to the Supreme Court, we authenticated the results that we collated before we even went to the Supreme Court. But to the question you raised in relation to, yes, if you persevere, you may not be the only person dying. The point has to be made again. I mean, and this is a very popular saying, that the blood of patriots every now and then, will have to water the tree of liberty. Look, when we are enjoined by the framers of our Constitution to defend the Constitution even at the peril of life, they are not calling for violence. Unless we say that it is reckless for anybody to say defend the 1992 Constitution even at the peril of your life. I don't think it is reckless. It is a right call to make, that we must all defend the Constitution. Indeed, in our anthem, we boldly say it, that we must be steadfast, to defend with all our will and our might. It's in our anthem. We teach that to our children in school. Prof and Co tell us that there is no better alternative as we sit today to democracy. And so no matter the grievances we have with our democracy, we must defend the 1992 Constitution even at the peril of our lives. Not so, Prof. Is that a reckless comment? So how then do you urge people to insist that the right thing be done? But in this context, when President Mahama says, we don't want to cheat the MPP, we don't also want them to cheat us. So the right thing must be done, do or die. Okay. And the definition of do or die is in the dictionary for you to understand. Okay. Unless, of course, you intend to spin it out for whatever agenda that you seek to achieve.
I have to take a break now, and I'll come back and take proper.
Before you come back and take what some of us have to say.
Yes, I'm coming back. Yes, he's been interrupted. So I'll take a break. I'll take a break, Honorable. I'll take a break, gentlemen, and I'll come back. And our text line is 055-369-8789. I've already seen some of your messages on Twitter. I'll read them. Let's take this break, and we'll come back to Prof and Honorable Kpemka.
So, it's just the two of us. Can't beat this.
Beat this?
Oh, hey.
You can't beat the Champions League,
Europa League, La Liga, Serie A,
and the Premier League.
All 380 matches of it, with its own dedicated Super Sport channel, my G.
Get a HD decoder, dish kit, and 1 month of DSTV access for only 169 Ghanaian cedis.
With ATL, you can never be out of style. ATL, bringing fabric to life.
Tell you
with the master so. Now so capra with the grand ganjo. Siki any beat with the savings. Yeah, best yes, here casket too. No holiday. Charlie with the grind every day. So you need but you see a criminal but you to cause of here pay. You be Tiania Quabantia coaching chin this yeah, be Tiania Quabantia coaching chin this yeah, Bessica Befier Frisa Busia Ofier yeah, Benija Befier Frisa Busia Ofier Can I buy then I'm a cop. Yeah, my search for the door makeup. What's your name? What's your name? When you see crowd, I be hard them talk. Yeah, I know I search your boy. Midnight I found the boy. What's the crowd? Watch your boy. Hey, sick I won't take me a ball. Hit it, my name grind. And this how we go fine. Time it go be so nice.
We are Africans not because we are born in Africa, but Africa is born in us. Yes, let's burst your bubbles this week on Ghana's Most Beautiful with educative and entertaining fillers on Africa as the ladies explore the world's largest continent with some of nature's greatest wonders.
The journey of life is one that is bizarre.
In life, it is always important to know who you're dealing with.
Join us this Sunday live from TV3 Studio B at 8 p.m. on TV3. To keep your favorite delegates in the competition, dial *713*13# or download the TV3 Reality app on Google Play Store or the App Store and follow the prompts. Studio audience is strictly by invitation. GMB 2021, rediscovering true beauty. GMB 2021 shows Sundays at 8 p.m. and repeats Fridays at 3 p.m. and is sponsored by Lavon's Tomato Mix, Camel now from Kerex, Freedom from Casaprecon, GTP, Darling Lemon Drink, Airtel Tigo's Big Time Bundles, Lufat, Deluxe Acrylic Paint, Heaven Black Mosquito Spray and Coil, and Napa Mackerel,
Geisha, Close Up,
Ayo Insurance, Fan Milk Nutri-Day Yogurt, and supported by
Welcome everybody, welcome viewers. You are watching Celebrity Fun Time once again. As usual, my name is Nikki Samonas, the mother ruler of all show business and also the queen mother ruler of this show. It's my game and my rules. The bottle.
Celebrity Fun Time, starting this Saturday, 5 p.m. on TV3.
Let's Go Farming, show Saturdays at 4 p.m. on TV3.
But I'm here to assure you, it takes a grain of wheat to die. And if the grain of wheat doesn't die, it bears fruit but alone. A part of you must die for another part to come together. God, He commands, He demands, and He expects obedience from us. Freedom without limits is addiction. I pray that the Lord will expose you to a big idea about yourself.
I pray that the Lord will expose you to a big idea about yourself.
I am Bishop Gordon Kisei of Life International Church, City of Favor, Achimota.
Hold on! We're speaking to Subisa Soor, who is the CEO of Legendary Foods.
Actually, a third of the world's population consumes insects in some way.
Right. Where did you find most of your information as to how people accept this as an alternative means of protein?
So we find that when it's grilled, so when it's like a kebab, that's actually one of the easiest ways.
More acceptable.
More acceptable.
I've always loved craft. I've always loved to do things with my hands. As a child.
Okay, so no, you can just leave it there for a few seconds. So long as I'm not looking at it, I should be able to contain myself. No, I think you should take it out. You should take it out. You should take it out.
Today's Woman shows Sundays at 3 p.m. and repeats Wednesdays at 3 p.m. on TV3.
Since 2014, the Sweden Ghana Medical Center (SGMC) has helped many Ghanaian teachers with free cancer treatment. This timely intervention has saved the lives of many members of the Ghana National Association of Teachers (NAT), including their spouses and children.
If you are not in the situation, you may think it's nothing, but when you get to the situation, you realize that it's very helpful.
That financial stress that NAT took, that was a big relief. It was a big relief to the family.
With increasing awareness, many more NAT members are getting free treatment of cancer at SGMC. But in order to sustain this life-saving scheme, NAT is appealing to all members to consider contributing only 5 Ghana cedis monthly instead of 2 Ghana cedis.
We are asking that let us together increase the money from the 2 Ghana cedis to the 5 Ghana cedis.
Remember, a monthly contribution of only 5 Ghana cedis to NAT will ensure that all teachers, together with their spouses and children, continue to enjoy free treatment at SGMC. Watch NAT Hour on TV3 as various beneficiaries share their touching life-saving stories.
NAT Hour, a documentary of hope for Ghanaian teachers. NAT Hour shows Wednesdays at 5:45 p.m. and on Sundays at 1:30 p.m. on TV3.
You're welcome back from the break. Some quick text messages that have come through. This one from Gary Bayantamale says, I know whether Mr. Mahama is, I want to know, is Mr. Mahama the only competent person within the NDC? He isn't offering Ghanaians the alternative leadership that Ghanaians are looking for. This do or die affair from him is a huge embarrassment and an insult to Ghanaians. He should not be doing this. And this one from, there's no name, it says, Jifa, the simple truth is that in both context and in the dictionary, the meaning of do or die means striving even at the risk of life to protect the sanctity of our democratic and electoral processes. However, I'm not happy that a reputable and respected personality like former President Mahama has made this statement. And this one from David in Kumasi says, Jifa, please tell Honorable Kwemka to stop running away from the Akufo-Addo all die be die comments. And those were some of your messages. So, Honorable Kwemka, over to you, and then we'll come to Prof.
Yes. So, you see, again, let me come back to language. It's often said that a learned man is he who speaks to the understanding of his audience. And I do agree with that perfectly. If you communicate and your audience do not understand you, then you've said nothing. And so, in this particular context we are talking about, do or die, and how it was put out there, and the personality behind it, and etc. We cannot come to one conclusion that everybody understood it to mean an idiomatic expression as said by people that persevere even to the point of death to achieve an aim, and etc. And so if you are communicating to a certain audience who may all not be sophisticated to the level that you yourself are, you ought to be careful in your choice of words. Otherwise, you will make a choice that you will live to regret that utterance that you have actually made. Because I have known, at least in my few years that I have been in active partisan politics, I have known that one statement can cost you a lot. And I can tell you that this statement by former president is going to cost him a lot. That's a fact. Anybody can run away from it and give any spin or give any explanation or every justification to whatever was said. Truth is that there are a lot of people who are going to be completely unhappy with that statement. But you see,
but there are others too who will agree, who will say that probably the former president has been playing Mr. Nice Guy for too long. And so it's about time he, laced up his boots and got his people to do so they can monitor activities at the polling stations. You have always said that elections are won at the polling stations. He's only saying that.
Because if he does, and it leads to a misunderstanding out there and something that can lead to outbreak of violence and etc., then one conclusion can be drawn that attribution you are making to him that he's been a nice man and all that is a veil he's been wearing. And that is false.
No, it's rather maybe he's been taken advantage of because he's been nice.
No, but you see, the point is that it does appear to me that we have a justification that 2020 election was lost because somebody stole it. From the way we are presenting this, and that is not correct. It is not correct. You see, when challenged in a competent court to produce evidence, they were found wanting. I remember very well, one of the justices of the Supreme Court, I think it was Justice Apple, he said, by your own collation, what did you get as a petitioner? What did you get by your own collation? We didn't bring it. By your own collation, what did the respondent get? We didn't bring it.
No, but I think Honorable Suhini addressed that. He gave the percentages that they hinged their argument on.
But I'm saying that in the courtroom, faced with the reality, they provided no answers. And so what declaration were you expecting the Electoral Commission to make in your favor? Remember that there were about the differences between the two leading candidates at the time was over 500,000 votes.
400,000 and
500,000, 500,000. And you are coming to talk about irregularities and you talk about votes less than 50,000. And you know the diminished principle that if, insofar as even you are able to prove that and it is insufficient to overturn the outcome of the election, you lose it. You lose it. So clearly, they have not been able to prove that genuinely they won elections and it was taken from them. By the facts that were presented by Electoral Commission and the circumstances on the ground, they lost. Look, let me take you through something. Are you aware that His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo won over 140 seats in the country by the presidential votes and lost some of those ones in the parliamentary to the NDC? That's a fact. If you look at Central Region, and other places, if you look...
Okay, so in total, you lost 32 seats.
Yes.
So your argument is what?
But he won, I'm saying that he won in presidential, in some of those seats.
But President Mahama too
but lost in the parliamentary. So if you look at
Mahama too won some constituencies that we lost to the MPs.
What I'm putting across is that, the majority of the constituencies in the presidential election were won by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. That's a fact that you cannot dispute.
So
what you are saying is correct. There were areas that His Excellency Joe Mahama won in presidential and you lost in parliamentary. It's a fact. But I'm saying that the conclusion is that the majority of the seats in the presidential election were won by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
But the NDC insists that they won the parliamentary, but for some of the controversial electoral issues that have emerged. They insist that they won the parliamentary.
Elections...
but I don't want us to dig deep into that.
That part, I disagree. I disagree with it anyway.
Well, and those cases are in court.
The point is that you are in court fighting these things. In the end, it is sub judice. I don't want to run commentary on that. It's sub judice. But in the end, there will be pronouncements by the courts as to whether or not those claims are maintainable or sustainable in the light of circumstances that are prevalent. But most importantly for all of us at this particular juncture is we shouldn't drive ourselves to a certain Armageddon that at the end we turn around and say that if we had known, we should not have said what we said. That is very important because, look, some people are ready, I can say that some people are ready based on this advice to go and cause mayhem because they want to achieve a certain desired outcome. In a democracy, the desired outcome in your favor is not the only one that will bring about justice or fairness, but a true reflection of what has been pronounced by the people is what brings about justice and fairness. So if you go to a polling station and do everything possible to the peril of your life or death in order to make sure that your party wins there, whether hook or crook.
No, they didn't say hook or crook. Don't add another idiomatic expression.
Hold it. Hold it.
They didn't say
Hold it. I'm saying that.
They said persistence.
To the point of death. No. To the point of death.
They didn't add hook or crook.
Say he won't cheat.
Hold on.
And he doesn't want to be cheated.
Look,
yes.
Hold on.
That's all.
You see,
so there's
the
no
point I am making is that if you put out the idiomatic expression, do or die, one of the meaning being that persevere even to the point of death. If it means that you have to do anything to lose your life, and remember I told you earlier on that you don't get to the polling station there to commit suicide in order for your party to win. You take a risk, and that risk could be resisted by the other side, and it could lead to a complete breakdown of law and order.
But of course, that is where I think the security agencies also need to step up and be in charge so that people don't die.
That I agree, because otherwise, you see, we sit here and we run commentary. It is different from the ground. He knows.
Okay, so
we are people who have been involved in this. I have run twice. I won once and lost the other. And I'm telling you that as a leader, there's a certain point when you tell your followers to kill for you to have power. They will kill. Some of them will do. As a leader, we have all led. And I'm telling you that I am happy that I have, in my constituency, in opposition, I won a victory very clean, and I lost when I was incumbent. I left without any qualms with anybody.
Will you go again?
That will be determined when the time comes. But the truth of the matter is that as leaders, we command a lot of respect. So any utterance or statement from us ought to be measured.
Okay.
Otherwise, the consequences of it will be so devastating that we will live to regret whatever we say.
Professor Jampo.
Well, giving them all the time.
I'm giving you much.
Sure.
No, you just go. I'm giving you the rest of the time.
You see, my own talking to people also revealed, I think it's been alluded to here, that some people within the NDC also feel that, look, the man John Mahama's own posturing and persona, he's too soft, he's too tolerant.
Not soft, they just say he's a nice guy.
Well, he's a nice guy.
And you know the Americans say, nice guys finish last.
Well,
so this time doesn't want anything like that.
Going into the 2024 election, one of the things that people may want to see him do is to talk tough. And so then he decided to go that route and also had the courage to even explain and say, I'm not going to withdraw it and all that. The point must be made that, see, politicians must appreciate this. You do not win an election by appealing only to your core support base. Your core support base is always not enough to make you win an election. And there is no partisan, you don't have much partisan de-alignment in transitional democracies. What I mean by that is an NDC core supporter is always unlikely to move to MPP and vice versa. They are there. Even when they are demoralized, it takes a playing of their party anthem to just charge them. And so in trying to win an election, I'm not saying sideline your support base, but you must do more to win the hearts of those referred to as the floaters and election kingmakers. But statements like these tend to make the election kingmakers look the other way. If you were endearing yourself to them and then you go on to make such a statement, then they say, we can't trust you. You are appealing to the party support base that is already for you anyway. So it must be made, the point must be made clear that the NDC core support base cannot win your Mahama election. The MPP core support base cannot win any MPP flag bearer an election unless you appeal to the election kingmakers. And statements like these, they don't help. And if I were them, see, I would have turned the opportunity around to go back to appeal to the election kingmakers. How do you do that? You see, at one point in time, Jerry Rawlings likened Kufuor to Atai. He insulted him several times on several various platforms. And Kufuor, when he had an opportunity, insulted him back. And the moment he did that, and people said, this is not you, Mr. Kufuor, this is not you, Mr. President, you don't have to do that. People within, so I'm responding to an issue he raised that sometimes it's difficult for people within the party to condemn. People within the MPP, some people within the MPP said, no, Mr. President, this is not you. And so the next opportunity he had, he addressed the issue and apologized to Ghanaians. And that was a politically smart thing that he did. Kufuor condemned J.J. Rawlings for his size of government. When he came, he appointed more ministers than Rawlings. When he was asked, when I was standing outside, I saw things different. When I got in, I saw things different. So I apologize. This is politically smart a move. So I'm expecting John Mahama to come out to say that, look, I said this, I didn't mean harm. I meant well. I meant to fire my people up to go police the process and all that. But it appears that it's not going down well and it is susceptible to misinterpretation. And so, well, I said it, I apologize or I withdraw. And then you endear more people to yourself. But to continue to explain and to justify and to defend, it creates an impression that you don't have people who can speak their mind and who can say it as it is around you. And if you're a leader, and everybody will have to bootleg you, and so you need them to have to come and sit here and defend. And some people are offering credible defense and explanation, even more than the one who uttered the expression himself. And if we do that, and Kwenka here, he said we shouldn't even talk about all that because
he said it's not the topic for discussion.
You can't tell me that it's not the topic. He's afraid. I mean, if you go and then you condemn it, if you go and talk about it, you don't know how. But you see, leaders web their sword should be tolerant enough that they will be able to listen to dissenting views. And then, well, if this was the route I was going, people say it is not the right route. Let me just retreat and then take a different course. And so I am expecting...
We have some views of Ghanaians which we don't have time to play. But ironically, a lot of the women were against the do or die. But a lot of the men said yes. They support it. And you know, it's only because when death happens, a lot of women are usually affected. And so they see it differently as opposed to...
So I'm behind, when we're not on air, I heard Sweeney saying that, well, we've heard the feedback and we feel it's constructive. But the point is, put that point out there. Okay, put that point out there that, look, what you said is susceptible to misinterpretation. And it is not, it doesn't, and for the MPP, it doesn't lie in their mouth.
Okay, so, but isn't it a concern that maybe there's almost a deliberate attempt to misinterpret? Why don't we just take it for what it is?
No, I don't think so.
Because sometimes maybe we overthink things.
You see, those who deliberately misinterpret, okay, are not actually those who would incite or who would be involved in violence. But sometimes you look at people who, the moment they had die or death in the statement, okay, it has its own meaning. I mean, I've spoken to so many people, they've not taken the trouble to read the connotative and denotative meaning of the expression. They don't have time to do that. And you don't speak and ask me to go to the street and to be explaining to people. I mean, if you do that, you have failed as a communicator. And so my point is that it may not, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. He aimed at trying to ginger his people, but the expression itself has been interrogated, and we are saying that this is not typical of John Mahama. He should be himself. He shouldn't try to be anybody. He should be himself, because some people also like the way he is. So trying to talk tough just to be able to assume a certain position, I mean, I think these things, they are counterproductive. And politicians must learn this. The MPP, I repeat, the core support base of the MPP is not enough to win the MPP any election. The core support base of the NDC is not enough to win the NDC any election. If they want to be politically smart, you appeal to the election kingmakers. And statements like all die be die or do or die offends the election kingmakers.
All right, thank you very much, Professor Jampo. Let me read some of the tweets that have come to me. This one says, the political hypocrisy is too much. Both words or statements have contextual meaning. There is no need for any expert interpretation. This one from David says, those who gave prominence to all die be die are now putting a spin on a harmless statement of do or die. It's a high level of hypocrisy. This one from Thompson says, everything is clear. Other messages coming through says the do or die comments is in bad taste, and no amount of explanation from the NDC can stick it. To my fellow youth, do not die for anyone to make a comeback to power. After all, those persons when in power left us with hopelessness. Let's let their children die for them. And that's from Eliasu in Tamale. This one from Prince in Koforidua. When 8 Ghanaians lost their lives in the just ended 2020 elections, what has the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, said about it? Well, there's a court case in relation to that. This one from Papa J. Jr. Says, Honorable Kpemka is running away from their own comment. He should defend all die be die action and not say that this is not the topic for today. And those were some of your messages coming to me on Twitter. Thank you very much. Honorable Suhini, final comments briefly, and then Honorable to have his comments briefly.
You see, Prof referred to my reference to feedback. In fact, I said it on the set too, yes, that under normal circumstances, all the comments on it would have been taken as good feedback, for possible review, which doesn't mean cancel, by the way, but for possible review and future outings. But it is important that we make the point that all die be die is not the same as do or die. They may be similar, but they are not the same. And that is why we are at pains to point to the fact that do or die is a simple English expression which has been defined by the Englishman. And any attempt to give it any other meaning may be motivated by some agenda. But yes, it is all right for those interpretations and the fears expressed by people to be taken into consideration in reviewing future outings. But it is also important that those making those reviews acknowledge the nature of John Mahama, and he couldn't have meant any harm. And look, we have said it. He couldn't have meant any harm other than what the do or die means. And there is a local proverb, a proverb in Dagbani that says that Amin to Sakuro, Kabiyadi, Aitel Hatwara, Anya Allah. To wit, that if you have pounded fufu before, and after pounding it, it was snatched from you, the next time you are pounding, you keep poison in your armpit. We have these local expressions in our communities to say that if you are pushed to the wall, you need to take certain steps to defend yourself. In fact, many Ghanaians have been very unhappy with the NDC for its inability to protect their ballots in, say, Zabzugu, in, say, Techiman Saf, in, say, even Ayawaso. People have been upset that they queued and wasted their time to vote for the NDC, and the NDC could not protect their ballots. So President Mahama is saying that it won't happen again.
Okay.
This time, it will be won at the polling station. And that is what our elections have always been about. And I have told you already on the set that this current government won Ayawaso using all die be die. We all saw the by-election. They used all die be die to win it. We know. We did not say anything. They won Techiman Saf using all die be die. They won Zabzugu using all die be die. I have given you the example of Savelugu, where do or die preserve that seat for the NDC. I've told you about the speakership, in Parliament, where do or die got that seat for the NDC. So let us not take the issues out of context. Let us look at what is at stake and what this statement truly means.
So Honorable Pemka, please just do this for me in 40 seconds so that we can go and prepare for the next topic.
He's used a proverb. I also have
which
one.
you understand. You have a counter proverb.
I'm not going to put it in the local language. I'll put it straight in English. That because of bad thoughts, the donkey has no horns.
Thank you very much. And this is where we end our first topic for now. Many thanks to our guests thus far, Honorable Suhini, Honorable Pemka, and Professor Ransford Jampo. We take a break and we'll come back with our next topic, Agenda 111 versus the abandoned hospitals. Is it an issue of priorities? We'll be right back.
GoTV was the best decision James has ever made. See, finding a good place to watch football was never easy, but it was costly. Until one day, James discovered something big. Now he can finally enjoy the perks of home ground advantage. Get home ground advantage when you get GoTV. For just 89 CDs, you can enjoy the world's biggest leagues and cup competitions this football season. GoTV. Love it.
Introducing Nestle Milo All-in-One Nutrimix. The goodness of malt, milk and cocoa in Milo, and even more milk. Just add to water and enjoy the perfect cup of winning energy. Milo! Milo!
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by...
We are Africans not because we are born in Africa, but Africa is born in us. Yes, let's burst your bubbles this week on Ghana's Most Beautiful with educative and entertaining fillers on Africa as the ladies explore the world's largest continent with some of nature's greatest wonders.
The journey of life is one that is bizarre.
In life, it is always important to know who you're dealing with.
Join us this Sunday live from TV3 Studio B at 8 p.m. on TV3. To keep your favorite delegates in the competition, dial *713*13# or download the TV3 Reality app on Google Play Store or the App Store and follow the prompts. Studio audience is strictly by invitation. GMB 2021, rediscovering true beauty. GMB 2021 shows Sundays at 8 p.m. and repeats Fridays at 3 p.m. and is sponsored by Lavon's Tomato Mix, Camel now from Kerex, Freedom from Casaprecum, GTP, Darling Lemon Drink, Airtel Tigo's Big Time Bundles, Lufat, Deluxe Acrylic Paint, Heaven Black Mosquito Spray and Coil, and Napa Mackerel,
Geisha, Close Up,
Ayo Insurance, Fun Milk Nutri-Day Yogurt, and supported by
This Saturday on Music. Let me see your better set move right now. With a big round of applause, let's welcome upstage Epic Soul.
water. He gives me food and water. I got a million things, million style, got a million skill, million felt but few. I seen a lot of girls when they may last star. You chop see the valley, they are paid in dollar. Duty so high, goods they rot for the border. Music, you know, they get royalty, they give you money for creative industry. And they suffer.
Music shows every Saturday at 8 p.m. on TV3. Don't miss it.
Do you know how to solatido, or you know how to blow all the bars? Then your time has come to be the next global icon on Mentor X. Who will take over from the lyrical Kwekubani and climb out the music industry to be the next global icon? If you're in the Northern Belt, catch the Mentor Audition training Tamale on the 17th of September at the Radash Hotel at 8 a.m. Applicants from the Middle Belt will converge at Maitland Hotel, Kumasi on the 19th of September 2021. The Western and Central Belts can join us at Akroma Plaza Hotel, Takrady on the 21st of September. Finally, Southern Belt auditions will take place on the 24th and 25th September 2021 at TV3 at the Sawe Kanda.
This is the one, it's all the black girls out to rock.
Nationals from other African countries can also compete in Mentor X. If you come from any other African country but live in Ghana, you can also join us at any of the audition centers to book your spot in the competition. It's the 10th edition of TV3 Mentor. Mentor X takes you higher.
They have many things in common. Their taste for what's trending, eagerness to spill the news, excitement to share a new recipe, readiness to commit, willingness to book that event. Ultimately, the vibe to make your imaginations go wild. The Ladies Circle.
Every Saturday, 6 p.m. on TV3. Brought to you by
Yaz Sanitary Pad, Vodafone, GTP, still timeless.
Woodin.
And you're welcome back. And our second topic is Agenda 111. That's the Akufo-Addo government's health infrastructure program versus, quote, abandoned hospitals. Is it an issue of priorities? Now, some 3 weeks ago, the president broke ground for the commencement of his ambitious Agenda 111 project. And this is aimed at delivering healthcare access to Ghanaians, particularly in districts where there are no hospitals. Many questions have been raised about the project, from issues relating to viability, to financing, and even really if the completion date of 18 months is realistic. Well, we here at TV3 and 3FM and on other media general platforms put out a series of stories on, quote, abandoned hospitals. And these have to do with hospitals that have been in work. The project had started, but nothing had been going on. Some had been closed and opened, others open, no healthcare professionals and the like. And we've had a number of revelations in this pursuit in relation to the issues I mentioned. Today, our guests, still we have Honorable Suhini, MP for Tamale North, with us, Joseph Pemka, Honorable, former Deputy Attorney General and former MP for Tempani. And we also are joined today by the Deputy General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Titus Bayo. Gentlemen, thank you once again for staying
with us. And some of you have already sent your messages, and one of them says, name the hospitals. That was to me. That's from Kwame Apia. Name the hospitals. Another one says, why? Those who started those hospitals didn't finish the so-called abandoned hospitals. When were they started, and when are or were the completion dates? Where are the remaining amounts of monies released for the hospitals to start? We need answers. So we'll be bringing you a mashup of that, but let me just take preliminary comments. I'll start off with Honorable Suhini. So the Agenda 111 has, is still in the news, still trending, and still a major issue for many. This week, I don't want to say it's because of TV3, but that would be a nice credit to take. Some of the hospitals were opened. I think the one at Time was opened, and then we saw a visit to the Afari Hospital, which is still, the military hospital, still under construction after we raised that. And then we know that there's some work to address the Shama Hospital as well. Your initial thoughts?
Well, my first statement will be one of commendation to TV3 for doing a fantastic job of highlighting the waste that would have occurred or occasioned but for your reportage. That is like you are being like you are reporting again, that is seeing some of these facilities being put to use. Because if they are abandoned, we need to understand that it is cost to the taxpayer, and health is wealth. And you visit almost every health facility in this country weekdays, and almost every health facility is full to capacity, private and public. It tells you the need for more health facilities. And so when you have the taxpayers' money being put to use by way of providing these facilities, and they are not serving the purpose, you should obviously be worried. And that is why I think that we must commend TV3 for highlighting this. And it has become necessary because of government's rhetoric and sloganeering once again that they have engaged in relation to their intention to build 101 hospitals in districts that did not have hospitals. I say sloganeering because that's what this government is noted for. Rhetorics and sloganeering. First of all, it is important for them to be reminded that it was a campaign promise in 2016. In their manifesto, they indicated that they were going to construct hospitals in all districts without hospitals. They lived 4 years in office and almost forgot about that promise. In fact, the only time the president remembered that districts needed to have hospitals was when COVID hit. And in one of his outings, he promised an Agenda 88 hospitals and said they were going to be done in the districts without hospitals. That was a belated, move to fulfill a campaign promise too late in the day. Fortunately for him, his party won and he has a second term. And so maybe it is a belated implementation of a promise that he made and forgot. But then again, you are reminded of the double standards in the publication of artist impressions. When in the past, even with projects that they could verify in the Green Book, they simply condemned it to being an artist impression that did not deserve any support at all or commendation. Today you find them, interestingly, on social media sharing artist impression of this 111, even before the contractors moved to site, and demanding praise for those artistic impressions. But it is all well and good if the intentions are right, because apart from the fact that we have these abandoned hospitals that should not have been abandoned, that should have been put to good use, we still need some more health facilities in our country. So if the intention is really to improve healthcare, the agenda will not be bad in itself. But because of the record of this government, you begin to wonder if the intention is really to improve healthcare or just to engage in procurement politics that will lead to another level of corruption, like we have seen in many of their undertakings.
I'll come back to you in detail on that.
No, just so that I don't leave it hanging. If the agenda is to improve healthcare, you will not have them abandoning facilities that are 90% complete. So in some cases 99% complete, because you would think that they will focus on that to improve healthcare. The UGMC will be operating optimally, the Ridge Hospital will be operating optimally, the phase 2 of the Ridge Hospital will be functioning. The sort that he cut at the La General Hospital, for example, will see some attention because that hospital has been shut down. The Shama people that he assured of a clinic about a year ago and cut short and said money was ready and construction was not going to delay will get some attention. But when you see all of that not getting attention, all of that ignored, and we are all moved to discuss this Agenda 111 with a lot of question marks in terms of procurement and monies that have already been spent, you wonder really if the intention is to improve healthcare or just to engage in another procurement politics that will lead to the high levels of corruption that we see everywhere.
Dr. Bay, you're looking at the number of hospitals that are outstanding. I have, at least to start with, even a list of just 11 that we went round and checked and reported on, but we know that there are so much more. I know the question may have been asked you already, that should we have finished these hospitals, but is it about how we weigh our priorities? Maybe we need to prioritize which districts actually need them and provide those hospitals, and then of course complete those already started.
Good morning, Jifa. Good morning to our viewers, and let me say a very good morning to all the dedicated and hardworking health workers in Ghana, especially my colleague doctors. I will just start by saying that to us, the Medical Association and medical practitioners in general, any addition to the infrastructure is very welcome because the deficit is huge, the gap is huge. So any single drop in that ocean, we will appreciate it. And to that extent, we commend government for bringing this initiative. But the very sad note, and then all week I've been following your news on these abandoned facilities, and it's very disheartening. I tried asking questions for some of them that have been completed and commissioned and not working. Then you ask a question, is it an issue of priority? Is it an issue of human resource? Is it an issue of administrative impediment? In fact, I have several questions on my mind that maybe in the course of this program I'll ask, and since I have very senior colleagues and politicians here, they might help us answer those questions. Because if you come to the issue of priorities, I think everybody accepts health to be a priority. And building hospitals is useful in any form because of at least 3 reasons. One, it brings access to the people. It brings proximity of health to the people. So that if you have a hospital in any district, it reduces the distance that people have to travel to get to another facility. Now, if you look at the type of facilities that were lying waste, the equipment, the design, the structure, and you compare to some of the facilities we are using right now, it will tell you that if you were a health worker working in one of these new facilities, you'll be very excited because you have what it needs to provide the services that you are trained to provide. So it's very sad that we will see them lying that way. But the questions that are lingering in my mind is that why do we abandon them and why do we start new ones? We welcome the new ones, but we also want these to be completed. Like I'm saying, I don't think it should be an either or. We want both. Push these ones into function now, and if you can complete these 111 hospitals, 111 hospitals within the stipulated time, we'll be very happy. We, however, have some significant concerns when it comes to the human resource, and then when we get there, we'll discuss it. And then finally, on the priority bit, I think the action of our decision makers, and here I'm referring to those who call the shots in deciding where and when to build a hospital or to start a new facility, send some signal to us, the ordinary workers, health service delivery workers, and the ordinary Ghanaian, that is it really an issue of priority, or is it more appealing to initiate new projects? And if it is more appealing to initiate new project, is it just that so that I can complete this one, that it is known that I initiated, I completed, and I get credit? Or is the procurement process more rewarding if you initiate a new project than if you complete an old project? How is our contractual terms that makes it such that when there's a change in government, whatever has been started cannot be finished? And the final question that is on my mind as far as this issue is concerned is the human resource bit. Why are governments more interested in infrastructure, which are very good, don't get me wrong, we need infrastructure, than the human resource component? Because if you are doing such a massive project, you want to see a massive human resource laid down. You can raise a hospital in 8 months, 18 months if you have the money. Question is, can you raise the needed caliber of staff over the same period without planning? And I'll give you some figures later so that we see the number of staff needed for these facilities. Okay.
Honorable Pemka, the floor is open to you. So there are questions about whether these hospitals, and some of you can see them on our screens, they are not in use yet because of what? Administrative bottlenecks, or it's not exactly an immediate priority, or funding?
Thank you very much. First of all, let me say that some of the facilities and some of the reports that we got prior to this were exaggerated, some. And I'm saying this because there were even photos of some of their facilities, equipment being abandoned, the mercy of the weather, and etc. And when cross-checking was done, it was ascertained that those were not actually equipment abandoned to the weather and all that. Some of them were not completed, but the impression had been created that they had been completed and they were abandoned and all that. And there's one particular project, I think done by Irojet in the Ashanti region.
The Afari military hospital. Yeah, I think that was like a big bone of contention. Exactly. But the truth of the matter is, if the government doesn't provide counterpart funding so that it can complete the project, because what the Deputy Defense Minister said was they're supposed to add an additional amount, partly because of the multiple relocations of this project. That hasn't been done. How can we move forward?
So yes, that's what I'm just driving at. But initially the report wasn't what we are talking about now until the Deputy Defense Minister clarified the issue. That was not it. The issue was that it had been completed and it was abandoned. But that has not been it, because even Eurojet issued a statement in the course of the week to clarify that indeed the project had not been completed. I recall, and I don't know whether Honorable Suhini also recalls, that before the 7th Parliament rose, that particular issue came before us. There was a request for funding from Government of Ghana, the counterpart funding, to finance that. But we couldn't take that motion before we rose. So I have actually followed that particular project keenly, and I knew that it wasn't completed. So the reportage out there was as though government had abandoned it, but that was not correct. Again, generally, government's focus is to ensure that where these projects have been completed, they are put to use so that we can reap the benefits that we are supposed to derive from that investment that we've put. But you see, again, there's something, Jifa, that is a demotivating factor to succeeding governments, continuing projects of government that have like their predecessors. And I have to state it this morning in categorical terms, that is killing the nation or the state Ghana. You have a situation where a government inherits a project and then maybe at foundation level or at lintel moves to organize resources to complete it. And then, unfortunately, you have, because of politics, those that initiated it will come out to say that, point out a single project of yours. Point out one project. The one that you are talking about, we initiated it. You are not the owners of it. So point out your own. You have taken this amount of money. What have you used it for? When, in fact, projects that the preceding government initiated and left office, some of them were maybe 30%, 40% and all that. And then the government that has come into office has to organize resources to complete it. Every credit the ones that initiated it want to take every credit for initiating it and asking the other government what you have done.
I beg your pardon, Honorable Pemka, but there is nothing wrong with acknowledging that this project was started by a previous government and we are continuing in the spirit of the social contract that is for the greater good. And I think maybe the MPP lost a good opportunity some time back. Remember the N1 highway? Remember how former President Mills commissioned that highway and brought former President Kufuor to say that he had done all this groundwork to bring the MCA compact. This road is now complete. I must commission it with you. Nothing has stopped the current president from doing same. Probably that will even be a political masterstroke. But he has chosen to commission other projects, not these hospitals, for instance, on his own. There have been projects that have not been commissioned because it means it is former President Mahama's name on it. T3, for instance. I'm just giving these as examples. It's not to say that it is right that it is not right that a government should initiate its own project. But I think sometimes the successive governments have also not walked in the path of others.
You're not looking at the reality on the ground. You see,
you don't want to do it so that someone will use it to campaign.
First of all, you have to win power in order to govern the country. All right? Yeah. Then you are governing the country. And you are continuing with projects that the previous government initiated. And all that the Hawks will tell you in their commentary is that you have done nothing. All that you are doing are their projects. Look, keenly I have monitored this. And I'm saying that governments will come, governments will go. The nation Ghana remains. But the interest that we have, if we don't take care, that will be the reason why we'll continue to run a circuit show that will not take us anywhere. And I'm saying this because if you listen to commentary in the last months, any project that is completed anywhere, you want to say anything, they say, oh, Mahama secured funding and left. Where is yours? Then the new patriotic party comes out to say that, look, there are 111 districts without hospitals. Therefore, as part of our contribution in the health sector, we're going to put up hospitals in the 111. Then the same people who are saying, this project is Mahama's project, that is Mahama's project, are saying that, have you completed what we initiated and you want to do new ones? Double speak. Double speak. No. So this government says that, look, we will complete them, but we are doing 111 in 111 districts without hospitals, for which my district is a beneficiary. And all we need to do is that, yes, we should complete the ones that have not been completed. I agree. That is true, because those ones were not constructed with money from the pocket of Mahama. It's Ghana's money. And the same way, the ones that we're going to construct will not be constructed with money from His Excellency's pocket. It is Ghana's money. But we must make sure that we don't politicize these things. These are things that will be legacies. Remember that if 111 succeeds in its entirety, it will be the biggest single investment in the health sector since independence. That's a fact. Because it is close to $2 billion. The entire cost of the 111 project. So what I can say is that in running commentary on this, we should try to look at it as a national issue, but not political party issue.
Okay, let me bring you to a few issues, and I'll stay with you for a bit, Honorable Pemka, and then we'll take a break and come back. So Dr. Bayua raised questions about the human resource capacity. So we know that there are many doctors, many nurses who are not employed. We know. And yet the president says he's going to employ some, or the country, to be specific, will employ some 20,000 and more health personnel when these hospitals are complete. The current doctors we have, they've not, and nurses and other healthcare professionals have not been fully employed. How do we take him on his word?
I know my brother is here, and he will be able to speak to what I'm going to tell you. Check who posted 2016 batch of nurses, 2017 batch of nurses, 2018 batch of nurses. Check which government posted them. There were backlogs when we came to power of nurses who had completed school and were waiting at home for 2 years and more, and who had not been posted at all. Cross-check, please. It is very clear that on record we posted these nurses, and then others again will be posted this and next year, to make sure that we expand that. even look at the idea of, reintroducing this allowance in the nursing training to motivate many more people to get in there and get educated and all that. And the expansion in the health infrastructure in those training schools to absorb more. All that are meant to train more human resource and discharge them into the system to man the various health facilities and etc. So government is equally committed to the human resource. As Dr. Biyo has rightly pointed out, you can have all the magnificent buildings that you can think about. If there are no persons who are professionals to manage these facilities, they become white elephants, and with time they fade. So you need that, and that is why government is so much committed to training nurses, training more doctors, and making sure that these professionals come out to manage this. And not just training them, but motivating them with good incentives.
I was about to raise that because just getting the healthcare professionals to be in those hospitals is simply not enough.
I was reading, I don't know whether it was yesterday or the day before, I was reading an article, and they were talking about the level of attrition from Kolebu. Number of nurses and other health professionals who have left their jobs and gone abroad to seek better opportunities and all that. I was reading it yesterday. So as I said, government is not just going to put up infrastructure, it's not going to just train the personnel and discharge them there, but put in place to motivating factors and circumstances that will attract
and do you have a plan for that?
Stay.
Because it wasn't detailed in the president's speech. He just said we will provide jobs for 20,000 healthcare professionals. Ghana will become a health hub because then people can come in for healthcare here across the sub-region, but nothing specifically about
those ones. When the president is delivering a speech, he gives you the skeletal presentation. All those the details are found in policy documents of the ministry that you later implement, and when you bring to Parliament for approval and etc., then you are able to push through your human resource development and then incentives, motivation and wages for staff and all that. So it is true, government is putting in place measures and efforts to ensure that that is done. But as I indicated, I can tell you that doctor is highly professional in what he's doing. But myself and Suhini, we can say anything, but in the end, we will say some politics.
But you are the ones making decisions for them.
Absolutely,
that is the challenge. So you cannot say that.
I agree.
You are making decisions for them.
I'm saying that. What I'm saying is that they will always run their professional commentary. But in the end, whatever we say, we end up lacing it with some politics. That's what I'm putting across. And I'm saying that Agenda 111 is a death knell to the aspirations of my brother and his party. He knows that if Agenda 111 succeeds in its entirety, that 111 hospitals in 111 districts will be unmatched in the history of health sector since independence.
Then how would you respond to those who then question, and that's why I raised, is it an issue of priorities? You want to win power, so you give yours more priority than the project that probably they started or started even before the NDC came to office.
That is again where the problem is. If there's a particular standing fund for a project that was initiated by the previous government, it becomes very easy to go ahead and complete it. But if there is no standing fund, government will have to find a source, either a loan or internally generated funds and all that, and there are competing interests.
But you found your 2 billion to build Agenda 111.
Please, it has not been stated categorically that 2 billion is sitting in an account for implementation.
Well, it's true, but that's the cost.
It has not been stated.
But
that is the cost.
And the deal had gone to Parliament.
Yes, and it definitely the funding will be sought to implement it. What I have put across is that, look, as we indicated in the Eurojet project at Afari, it's very clear that there's a counterpart funding by the government of Ghana, which government will have to look for money in the midst of competing interests and the devastation of COVID-19 and etc. Government will have to look for funds. People, sometimes we have to put it in context. What context do we put it? That in the circumstances of the competing interests that we have in the various sectors, government, look, it is not only health sector projects that you have standstill. Educational infrastructure. There are certain projects in education. I recall that certain projects were initiated under President Kufuor, which were completed when this government came to power. Those ones are there. Housing, even housing, and all that. We have those things. That culture, as a nation, we have to put a blueprint and maybe give timelines to these things so that whether a government changes or not, whoever comes within a certain time must complete those other projects and move on. If that becomes a national policy and put in the National Development Planning Commission's plan, and it is binding on any other person, then we can move on from there. But so long as discretion is granted to any individual who comes to power to run the country in accordance with the dictates of our constitution, that discretion must always be exercised. It mustn't be capricious anyway.
All right. Let me read some messages and then I'll come to Dr. Bayo. We'll take a break and then I'll come to you. I'll come to you, Nobusu, because I know you have a lot to say. This one says, it's from David Adu, says, as we are speaking, there are doctors who have written the medical and dental exams with their results not in and sitting at home for 7 months as a result of government's failure to constitute the medical and dental board. Is the board now constituted?
It is constituted.
Okay, because
and
I remember
the results have since been declared. So you can check that out.
Thank you very much for clarifying that. This one says from David Adu, Agenda 111, when there are abandoned hospitals, the prudent step is for government to complete the abandoned projects and then continue with their own agenda where they deem it fit. My regards to Honorable Suhini. This one from... Okay, so these are still from the old messages, but thank you very much for sending them. Yes, so Dr. Bayo, the issue of the healthcare professionals to be employed.
Yeah, just before I tackle that, I think some small revelation from my brother here will leave all of us thinking as a nation, because I think it's giving us a peek into the mind of the politician and what influences what they do. Because if they have to, from what we are hearing, meaning that if you start a project, you don't complete it, another person comes to complete it, then the credit becomes an issue, political credit. And because they need power first to govern, that is a big one. And I can now understand why you would want to initiate a project and want to finish within 18 months, because you want to try and finish it
so that you can use it for the next campaign.
Yes, but more importantly for us, so that it's available for use, because it means that it is possible that if there's a switch, these things may not be completed. I'm going to just make an appeal on behalf of all doctors, healthcare workers, and the ordinary Ghanaian, that the Ghanaian electorate, I think we are becoming very discerning now, and we appreciate issues because there's improved communication. And so I would encourage the politicians not to be too scared about just the credit bit, because as the media carries the story, we are also able to see. Because if you have a facility abandoned in my village that was started by another government and they could not finish, and this government has finished it and my people are getting health care, I don't think the fact that someone just initiated means every credit will go to him. At some point, we'll appreciate all the effort that is being put in. So they should not be scared to complete the project. They should try and complete them. We'll give the due acknowledgement.
We'll give the credit where it is due.
It is due based on the extent of completion. But at the end of the day, the ordinary Ghanaian is the beneficiary. The other issue is that he talked about nursing allowance and all of that, which is helpful. But I'll use that to start my discussion on the human resource. You see, that is helpful. There's no doubt about that. But it has not necessarily increased intake into the nursing schools. If anything at all, it's even limiting the intake. Because government intake then is now based on how many people can I pay this allowance. And here we have with such a massive infrastructure project, which we welcome 100%. And I am, tonight when I go, I'm going to go on my knees and pray that we should try and complete this. Let all of us support it as a nation. Let's offer any guidance we can give so that these projects are completed before this government leaves power, so it doesn't suffer maybe an ill fate like others have suffered. But the human resource bit is very critical.
We can't train people within
that short period. And I'm just going to give you some figures. For instance, and this is the Ghana Health Service's own policy on promotions and appointment of specialists, dated June 2018. For a district hospital, they will require a minimum of 11 specialists to practice. A minimum of 2 senior specialists to practice. Now, if you take that these 111 hospitals are district hospitals, multiply that by 11 and see the number of specialists you require. The annual output of the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons, which is the accredited college training specialists in this country, cannot match this. This is over 1,100 specialists we are talking about. They can't match it
within a year or
3
two.
years, they cannot. If you go to the regional hospital, they are going to build 3 regional hospitals as part of this package, which is very helpful. We require 37 specialists in a regional hospital.
Multiply that by 3.
By 3. We require 38 senior specialists. So
the projects are all well and good,
yes,
but we may not have the kind of personnel we need
to run them.
So in terms of the district hospital, I saw a Ghana Health Service document that talks about a minimum, they grade them grade A to D.
Yes.
The grade A is a minimum of some 200 and something, 200 and something personnel.
Yeah.
Can we deliver on that? And this is, I know, all categories of personnel.
So, well, the Medical Association, we are willing to support government to deliver on this. We know that it's usually difficult to get a full complement of staff to start anything. But we think that once the policy directive has been given by the president, his soldiers, let me put it in that term, should be given the marching orders to do the technical work as far as the human resources is concerned. We are available to provide guidance, to provide support and advice on how to get the human resource first and how to send them to do these places. In how to get in them, if you look at even the requirement from the Health Facilities Regulatory Agency, he is a legal person and he knows the agency that regulates the setting up of a facility is this agency. To set up a district hospital, they need at least 150 professional nurses, 13 medical doctors for one district hospital before you can be accredited. This is a district hospital that has a capacity to take referrals. So what are we going to do in 18 months? There's an emergency situation as far as the human resources is concerned. Our proposition is that in this September, we are having intake into the various schools, training institutions. Can we have this policy reflect there?
So it means we have to also expand intake in our schools in order to meet this match.
So we may not meet it this year, we may not meet it next year, but at least in 3 years, 4 years, we may meet it. When these facilities are ready, we have to redistribute our staff. Because even if you take all those sitting at home, as you've mentioned, they cannot work in this facility alone. You can't take fresh recruits from any school and take them to a facility and say, go and work there. Then you are going to turn that place into a very disastrous facility because they need experienced hands to guide them. They need seniors to guide them on the practice, and they need practice on the field. So because of that, we are calling for a deliberate human resource policy, which is cutting across first at the institutions, training institutions, expansion in their capacity, expansion in the number of trainers, expansion in the number of intake students. Then currently, how are we going to redistribute the human resources that we have? We must have an emergency policy on that. Then how are we going to, most of these facilities are located in rural areas. What is the story now? And I always cite my own district. I'm from Lambuse district in the Upper West region. The district is a bordering district to Burkina Faso. We have one polyclinic. The entire district has only one doctor. This doctor is involved in administrative work as the head of the hospital, acting head of the district hospital, the district health administration. He's the only person. We are a beneficiary to this 111. Over the years, people are not going there. So even when you train the people, how are you going to get them there? And that is where we need policy to attract, to motivate, so that they can be retained. And some of these policies, it's not a matter of making noise or just speaking about it on TV or radio. It must be deliberate, because these facilities are not being built in the cities. Very few are in the cities. And to the extent that they are in the rural areas, we need something to attract the doctors, the nurses there. Accommodation, road network, telecommunication, because if you post a young specialist to an area without telephone network, how is he going to survive? In my place, you get there, you are making a call before you realize your network is switched to Burkina Faso network. How are you handling this? So if you've left your family in Accra, so we need that deliberate policy on how to redistribute. But if government is committed to Agenda 111, we love it, but they should be committed to the human resource of it. And let us see that in the intake into training schools.
Okay, we'll still come back on the human resource, but let's just take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Your weekend fun party starts early on TV3, beginning this Friday with your hilarious Giovanni Caleb on Showbiz 360. On Saturday, we start off with a wrap-up of all the week's sporting activities on Warmer Plus. Simply Showbiz with the exciting Miss G follows. Then, the ladies take you to the next level in the afternoon on Ladies Circle. Expect an unforgettable Saturday night with the reigning dancehall champ episode on Music. And on Sunday, get inspired by riveting conversations on Today's Woman. Enjoy a beautiful night full of thrills and glamour as your beautiful GMB ladies inform, educate and entertain you. Enjoy the weekend in your couch on TV3. First the news, best in entertainment.
The Saturday mornings will never be the same again.
We will bring you the best mix of sports and lifestyle content on Warmer Plus.
We will interview exciting professionals from different fields of endeavor, including sports and fitness. Give fans an opportunity to show their passion and preview upcoming games.
Discuss what's trending in the world of sports and entertainment, give you lifestyle tips, serve you music, exercise, dance, laugh, and have an absolute ball on TV each Saturday.
So whether you're a fan or you just like fun,
you will absolutely love Warmer Plus.
Warmer Plus shows live Saturdays at 10 a.m. only on TV3.
Done. Why DJ got dirt? 113 plus 100. 100, the one will be 2.
Fighting. Why I'm fighting?
Touch my butt. Who painted the Mona Lisa? Wrong. How many days are there in a normal year? 12. Wrong. 365 days.
Celebrity Fun Time, starting this Saturday, 5 p.m. on TV3.
Ready, camera?
Perla Mundi is a renowned Ghanaian media personality and women's advocate. She is passionate about social issues and takes exceptional interest in telling life-changing stories.
Can you believe through this Ababoya, I've been able to complete the University of Cape Coast.
Welcome to Asinkushia. This is actually the cleanest city in Ghana.
Life is not a competition. Keep to the pace.
Action.
Welcome to the Day Show, guys.
The Day Show unravels life-threatening stories.
Before they can steal more babies, they need dead bodies to be showing parents that your baby is dead.
The passion, the fun, and sometimes not so very pleasant moments.
Yes, I have suicidal thoughts and homicidal thoughts.
Tell your story to inspire. After all, everyone has got one.
The Day Show with Perla Mundi now shows on Thursdays at 9 p.m. and repeats on Saturdays at 3 p.m. on TV3. We are Africans not because we are born in Africa, but Africa is born in us. Yes, let's burst your bubbles this week on Ghana's Most Beautiful with educative and entertaining fillers on Africa as the ladies explore the world's largest continent with some of nature's greatest wonders.
The journey of life is one that is bizarre.
In life, it is always important to know who you're dealing with.
Join us this Sunday live from TV3 Studio B at 8 p.m. on TV3. To keep your favorite delegates in the competition, dial *713*13# or download the TV3 Reality app on Google Play Store or the App Store and follow the prompts. Studio audience is strictly by invitation. GMB 2021, rediscovering true beauty. GMB 2021 shows Sundays at
8 p.m.
and repeats Fridays at 3 p.m. and is sponsored by Lavon's Tomato Mix, Camel now from Kerex, Freedom from Casaprekum, GTP, Darling Lemon Drink, Airtel Tigo's Big Time Bundles,
Lufat,
Deluxy Acrylic Paint, Heaven Black Mosquito Spray and Coil, and Napa Mackerel,
Geisha, Close Up,
Ayo Insurance, Fun Milk Nutri-Day Yogurt, and supported by
They have many things in common. Their taste for what's trending, eagerness to spill the news, excitement to share a new recipe, readiness to commit, willingness to book that event. Ultimately, the vibe to make your imaginations go wild. The Ladies Circle.
Every Saturday, 6 p.m. on TV3. Brought to you by
Yaz Sanitary Pad, Vodafone, GTP, still timeless.
Woodin.
Hola! We're speaking to Subisa Soor, who is the CEO of Legendary Foods.
Actually, a third of the world's population consumes insects in some way.
Right. Where did you find most of your information as to how people accept this as an alternative means of protein?
So we find that when it's grilled, so when it's like a kebab, that's actually one of the easiest ways.
More acceptable.
More acceptable.
I've always loved crafts. I've always loved to do things with my hands. As a child.
Okay, so no, you can just leave it there for a few seconds. So long as I'm not looking at it, I should be able to contain myself. No, I think I should take it out. I should take it out. I should take it out.
Today's Woman shows Sundays at 3 p.m. and repeat Wednesdays at 3 p.m. on TV3.
Welcome back to the key points, hashtag the key points, and I've been seeing some of your messages. Thank you very much, and I'll read them subsequently. But we're still here with our discussion on Agenda 111 versus abandoned hospitals. Is it a case of priorities? We've been looking at the human resource implications of the project. And I think the Deputy General Secretary of the GMA, Dr. Titus Bayo, has really opened our eyes to what the look ahead should be. But let me bring in Honorable Suhini to weigh in on this conversation. So now that I guess it's clear that government says it has started some of these projects, definitely they're going to be done concurrently. Any fears about the human resource element?
Well, Jiva, it's not just with the human resource element. I started by making the point that if the intention is to improve healthcare, there's no one, I think, in this country who will be against, such a move to increase the infrastructure stock as far as health infrastructure is concerned. But when you see signs that, point to the fact that this may be motivated by other considerations other than the need to improve healthcare, then you need to raise those concerns. And I think that my brother here, Honorable Joseph Pemka, points to some of those things. The motivation is political, a death nail on the NDC thing. So if it is political, it is well and good. I mean, a government in power must do well to be re-elected. But if that is the only motivation, then you will have it done out of the context that it should have been to lead to, health, improvement. So, for example, he talks about the credit. And I think Doc should be rest assured that the NDC in power in 2025 will not abandon any projects that were started by the NPP, because you see, it is not in our nature. And I like the example you gave, Jifa, about the N1. It wasn't just the N1. Even the Bui Power Authority, the Bui Power Dam, when President Mahama was president and was going to commission it, he invited President Kufuor. So it wasn't just President Mills who invited, President Kufuor to the N1. President Mahama also, as president, when he was going to commission the Bui Dam, acknowledged the fact that it was President Kufuor who secured the funding for the construction of the Bui Dam, and so invited President, Kufuor to be part of the commissioning. The problem we have had is this new patriotic party. That first of all,
this administration,
that first of all set out to set an agenda against President Mahama and said he was one who did nothing. Held lectures across this country and pointed to how much money he borrowed and did nothing. And so when you find them avoiding some of these projects, it's because it exposes the lie they told about him. The deliberate lies that they told about his administration is what must be continued with these actions that they engage in, that in the end lead to the common person suffering and not enjoying the full benefits of these facilities that were constructed to improve healthcare. In fact, when President Akufo-Addo talks about Ghana being a health hub, a tourist destination for health purposes, we are 6 years late, because that was the agenda, and that is why you have so many of those facilities across the country.
That is the Eurojet project.
Yes.
So that was the plan for a long time.
Yeah, for a long time. Go look at the University of Ghana Medical School Center. People were taken to Israel and others to be trained for that purpose. Go and look at the Maritime Hospital in Tema. That was the agenda, to make Ghana a hub. And then it was supported by these district hospitals, though it was not named or christened Agenda 111. Look at the number of district hospitals. In fact, in the then Brown Ahafo region alone, I can count up to about 6 district hospitals or 7 that were constructed. The Western region. It was not, because governance wasn't about sloganeering like it has become today.
My goodness.
It was a more serious business.
My goodness.
So the number of district hospitals, that is why at the time that they were promising in 2016.
Remember that Eurojet,
at the time they were promising, can I finish? At the time that they were promising, district hospitals without hospitals, they knew that we had less than 45 districts without hospitals, because there was that grand agenda to make sure that almost every area was covered in terms of health facilities. Indeed, even ministers and appointees of the president had to levy themselves at some point
for the CHIPS compound.
That was a grand agenda to improve health facilities in this country. And it was not just a stand alone. When my brother today boasts about, they posted 2017 nurses, they posted 2018 nurses, and posted 2019 nurses. Did they post them to their farms or their homes? They posted them to facilities they didn't construct. Because we were training people and they were coming out of these facilities and needed places to work. And so those facilities were not just built in isolation. And that is also linked.
But it took some time for the facilities to be ready. Hence the backlog. That is being.
Because you see, if the facilities were non-existent, they would not have been able to post them.
Okay. But
so the point has to be made that it was not just an agenda to construct the facilities alone, but it was also, mindful of the human resource part of it. Please.
No,
I didn't interrupt you. And he didn't like it.
You quickly hear him.
He didn't like it when I tried.
It's okay. You say your quick point quickly.
Are you saying that the reason for not posting those people was because there was no infrastructure?
Or they were not ready?
It is not correct.
Partly so.
It is not correct.
Partly so.
It is not
you
correct.
See, so that is why I did.
So I will allow you to tell us why. So let me.
It was partly the reason. And see, if for example,
isn't it also because there wasn't money to, there wasn't financial clearance?
It is not. In fact, go and check the financial clearance. Go and check. No. Go. It wasn't IMF. In fact, that is another lie that has been repeatedly told. The IMF freeze on employment in the public sector excluded the health sector and the education service. It was not part of it. And he should go and check the clearance, the financial clearance, the date on that letter. The financial clearance for 2017 posted. Go and check the clearance. The financial clearance came in 2016.
Okay, but
for the 2017, back to be posted.
Okay, so let me draw your attention.
There's an important point I need to make about this human resource, because
yes,
Doc has actually highlighted, the grave situation that we are faced with, and that is what again, lends support to my earlier presumption that this may not just be targeted at health improvement, but just to engage in procurement politics. Because if it is targeted at improving health in general, we will not miss this very relevant, part of the whole,
Well, I'll be honest, I can't be sure if that bit has been missed, because I guess I need to obviously put
I am going to point to you. That's why I said it's an important point I need to make.
The health minister.
It's been missed.
It's because Honorable is
It's been missed because, you see, right now, I told you about how there was that drive to make Ghana a hub, to construct all these beautiful health facilities that they have allowed in some cases to rot, bring in machines, that we hitherto did not have, that they have allowed to rot. It was tied to the human resource angle, and that is why under President Mahama, health training institutions, we had an explosion of health training institutions around the country. Just look at when most of those health training institutions came about. Again, that is how come the government at the time, introduced the policy of removing the quota that they give to these health training institutions, because the quota is limited. The quota limits government's ability to train more people.
That is the training allowance.
The training allowance.
So you took out the training allowances.
I don't even want to say we took out the trainer. We took out the quota.
Okay.
And the quota, taking out the quota meant that institutions that had the capacity to train 1,000 people were no longer required to to admit only say 200, because that's the number government can pay allowance to. Because if you can, and most of our facilities, there was a research done, and most of our facilities the training facilities had the capacity to train more than they were training. So you had empty classrooms in those facilities because government could only pay 200 trainees allowance. So they are allowed to admit 200. So the policy was to take out the quota, let the training institutions admit as many as they can, because we have people passing from secondary school every day. Now, you guarantee them jobs when they graduate by putting up these health institutions. It is better than guaranteeing them allowance and not jobs.
Okay, I think that point has been made. Let me bring in Dr. Bayo. So, Dr. Bayo, I know you respond to Honorable Suhini a bit, but please relate it to a question about these hospitals you are mentioning. We have a lot of retired medical doctors, medical and nurses and other healthcare professionals. Once they are put out because of retirement, I think those are opportunities we can tap into for some of these new hospitals who need experienced personnel. They serve as mentees, mentors for the mentees to train them up. Isn't that an option?
Well, it is an option. I mean, there have been calls for an extension of even the retirement age for doctors and specialized areas where the skill is needed, and also the need to bring in retiree. But before we would do that, it will be prudent to exhaust the ones that we are training, because it will not be fair for someone who's finished medical school be at home whilst you bring in someone who has finished serving the nation. So even though they'll be very useful as mentors, they'll be very useful to guide, and some, especially those who are just retiring in their early 60s, some are still very strong and can work. If they are willing to work, they could be brought on board, especially in the emergency situation, when I call for an emergency policy. If you're able to get all 111 hospitals ready, and we are not getting the experienced hands, we could bring some of these people on board. But I need to emphasize that we must exhaust all the young ones we are training before we think of bringing in those people. And we also
I think a healthy balance.
Yeah, and we need to balance it well, because in the medical profession, at some level, people are capable of teaching, of guiding, but may not be capable of
the
surgery.
work.
Yes, because of the dexterity of their hands and all. So all that has to be brought into play. But I think that if we deliberately plan as a nation, we should be able to overcome this hurdle of the human resource.
Tell us a bit about the GMA proposal you mentioned. Yes.
So I should say that the GMA is working with the Ministry of Health now to come up with a policy to attract and retain healthcare workers in the rural areas, those already in the system. As far as Agenda 111 is concerned, we are proposing that we are willing to support government with policy guidance and development on how to get people first at the point of intake. We are saying that these training institutions have quotas. So remove the quota. Identify people who would not have made the admission this year, not because they are not qualified, but because the space was limited and because of quota. Now let their admission into schools be linked to a particular health facility. In other words, bond these people, let them sign an agreement that, look, I'm getting admission to this nursing school, I had missed the admission for this year, I'm not going to stay at home, but I'm coming in. When I finish, I'm going to serve in this facility. So they already know the facility they'll be serving in. On breaks, they can go and do attachment there. That is one sure way of increasing the staff strength and permanently having them there. When it comes to specialist intake, we have the same thing. In the case of the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons, the capacity to train currently has been restricted based on the teaching hospitals. We are asking for decentralization of the training. Get a lot of trainers. Decentralize them. Let all regional hospitals be involved in training. That will require a cross-sectorial collaboration with the military or the Air Force, and I'm going to explain why, with the Ministry of Transport, with the Ministry of Housing. You will need to move consultants and specialists from Kolebu, from 37, from Konfanochi, to across the country to train people. So instead of getting all the doctors to come to only these few facilities to train, which will restrict how many people you can take, because there's only a number of specialists in training you can have per team. If I have 7 residents to train in Kolebu, it will mean that they will suffer in the amount of skills they will get. So instead of bringing them here, keep some at Bogatanga Regional Hospital. Draw a rota for consultants like me and my colleagues and tell you, Dr. Bayo, you are in charge of Upper East Regional Hospital. Monthly, we'll fly you in a week. Go there, operate with the doctors who are there, guide them through, and train them there. This should be a proper contractual agreement and get all consultants on board. If this is done, immediately the training intake will blossom. It will increase in terms of numbers. Then we are going to get specialists trained. The other thing is that if you train the people where they work, the tendency for them to relocate to Accra is low. But if you bring someone to Accra for 5-year training, in the course of that time, the person has maybe married, has kids have begun school, how does that person relocate completely to a rural area to train? So we are saying that we need that kind of comprehensive policy for training at all levels. And this should be backed by proper motivation of the staff when they are fully trained. Motivation, because these people are going to be sacrificing a lot. So what do they get in return? Are we giving them some special allowances? Are we giving them something for movement, vehicles where they are, accommodation? How do they make up for their kids' school? If you send someone to a village somewhere, the person immediately is going to keep 2 homes, because you have to keep your family in the city so that the kids can go to school whilst you labor in the village. How am I compensated for that? In the village, there's no additional hospital for you to do part-time practice. All your effort is at the district hospital. How are you compensated for that? Your colleague in Kumasi, after working at Konfanochi for
to do locum elsewhere,
his dedicated time, will have time to do locum somewhere. How do you compensate the person at Hamili or the person at
where yes, one of these hospitals is?
How do you compensate that person? Because the person is lacking all of this, and they work around the clock because they are few. Yeah. So that motivation package, until we do that, any rhetoric of I've posted 10 doctors, I've recruited 60,000 nurses, will amount to nothing. The inequitable distribution will remain. because it then becomes market forces. And if it's market forces, everybody will go to where they get the highest dividend. Why should I go and sacrifice somewhere? And I hear people say, oh, the doctors should be willing to sacrifice, the nurses should be willing to sacrifice. Then every profession must be willing to sacrifice. The legal profession, how many lawyers are in the Upper East?
The Hippocratic Oath.
How many are in the Upper East? They are serving somewhere. The Hippocratic Oath did not sentence us to poverty. It did not sentence us. My senior brother.
I like that.
You know?
I think that's a good way to end. So, you are on the floor.
You're making a very, very important point.
Yeah. And I think it gives us a lot for reflection.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. If there's anything beyond 100%, I agree with you. You know, to be honest with you.
But you did politics with the quotas.
I'll come back to that. I'll come back to that. You see,
you will come back to the politics.
My brother.
Yes, sir.
You were talking about this distribution of professionals, and you went to talk about lawyers.
But you are a lawyer too, former deputy attorney general.
So how many
for the longest time, Honorable Ambrose Jerry was one of the few lawyers operating in Upper West.
Yes. Let me make this very clear. Immediately from law school, I went back to Upper East.
Yes, you did. Good.
Let me make it very clear. Yeah. And I came from Upper East to become deputy AG.
As AG, how did you change the distribution?
I'm making things very clear. So I am not part of the Suhinis who have remained in Accra. I am not part. I went back and I said, in fact, after first degree, I went back to teach there. Then I came and did law. I went back there to serve. Okay. So I have all along been serving. Even as I speak, I've gone to do my chambers there again.
Great.
So for me,
it's not an issue at all. Compared to me, I never left. I stayed there, educated myself there, and did everything there.
I was actually in sixth form when he was my junior. We have something we discussed
and he did something. I'll tell you.
He did something that I'll tell you. You know, but on a more serious note, you see, the point he was making about distribution of health personnel, I spoke about it. You have a situation where people are posted on the notice board. You go and see their names. The date of reporting is over. You go and they are not at post. You ask and they've been reposted. What is the reason? And he's spoken about it extensively. We have to deliberately put a policy in place to discriminate in their favor, to attract them to stay. That one I agree with.
Positive discrimination.
Yeah, positive. We have to. If you are in Accra and you have everything here and the person is up there, or the person is in that rural area and is not getting the facilities you have here, there must be something that will compensate for that difference. Yeah. That I totally agree. And we have to do it in a manner that will retain them, for them to stay and work. But we're talking about the quota system.
Yes.
It will be impossible, and Doctor knows, to open the doors for every qualified person to go and read medicine or to go and read nursing. It is impossible. You can't have it.
Why?
It doesn't exist anywhere. No. It doesn't. There must be a criteria to select some.
You said qualified.
Yes. All qualified persons cannot have access to read. It is impossible. I'm telling you this.
But you can tweak that to your needs.
Yes.
Based on how many projects.
I'm saying this is that, for example, you're talking about nursing.
Yeah.
You know that they do a lot of clinicals.
Yes.
And they need a hospital to do this.
Yes.
If you go and there's a nursing training college at Timpani and there's no hospital, where are the people going to do the clinicals to become good professionals? So all those things are to be taken into consideration. There was a situation, Doc, in 2016, where a school up north admitted close to 1,000 people to read nursing. And there was no facility for them to do clinicals and all that. At the end of the day, you are training people to come and man a human institution and take care of humans. And then you are engaging them to become theoreticians and all that, so that they come out and pour out theory. No, this work
that cannot work.
It cannot work.
No. They need a skills.
Yes, it's a gamut of things. To be able to increase the intake, you must expand the infrastructure, and then also get the professionals who will train them.
Yes.
And even these hospitals we are talking about will help.
Yes.
If you have the 111 in place, these people will do their clinicals in those hospitals. It will help long term. But short term, you have to regulate it. Painfully, they go through interviews. And dog knows. They go through interviews, some are selected, others are not selected. Some even attend interviews three different years and they are not selected and all that. It's unfortunate, but there must be a criteria for selecting people to go and pursue these professions. Again, the motivation bit is what I'm coming back to, and just to conclude in a minute. You see,
so we have just 30 seconds for you on
once
that.
Once upon a time, I saw some in a particular district. They said they were going to provide a bungalow for you. They will get you a vehicle and they will give you some motivation. There was a district, I don't remember specifically. And then that will be a motivation for any doctor who agrees and accepts to be posted to the place. And I think that even districts can initiate these things. District assemblies can initiate these things to retain them, because the local beneficiaries are the assemblies.
Yes.
In the end. Because if we are relying only on central government because of budgetary constraints and all that, they may not be able to. So we can motivate the district assemblies to make allocations to motivate these persons to come and stay. And even they can even sponsor. You take people to the medical school and pay their fees and bond them to come and serve you for a number of years. We can do all those
things. So we should just come up with innovative ways, creative ways to do that. All right, and this is where we have to end our show. I want to thank our guests, Alassane Suhuyini, MP Tamale North, Honorable Joseph Pemka, former Deputy Attorney General and former MP for Timpani. We'll see if you're going to contest again. And Dr. Titus Bayo, Deputy General Secretary, Ghana Medical Association. Many thanks to everyone for watching. Thanks to all of you who sent me tweets, those of you who sent us text messages as well. Key Points has been coming to you live from TV3 Studios, as well as from 3FM 92.7 and on 3news.com. My name is Jifa Bampo. Thank you for watching. Join us again next week for another exciting edition. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And up next is Warm Up Plus.
True beauty, African woman, Ghanaian woman, made of gold, black and bold, Ghana's most beautiful. African woman, Ghanaian woman, made of gold, black and bold, Ghana's most beautiful. Volta region, northern region, Ashanti region, eastern region, western region. East and west, central region, western north, the Harbour region, northeast, Greater Accra, Oti and Savannah. Listen, welcome to Ghana, African woman, Ghanaian woman, made of gold, black and bold, Ghana's most beautiful. African woman, Ghanaian woman, made of gold, black and gold, Ghana's most beautiful. Aye, aye, oh, aye, aye, yeah. Say, aye, aye, let's go. Aye, aye, aye.
It's DJ Faculty.
We are Africans not because we are born in Africa, but Africa is born in us. Yes, let's burst your bubbles this week on Ghana's Most Beautiful with educative and entertaining fillers on Africa as the ladies explore the world's largest continent with some of nature's greatest wonders.
The journey of life is one that is bizarre.
In life, it is always important to know who you're dealing with.
Join us this Sunday live from TV3 Studio B at 8 p.m. on TV3. To keep your favorite delegates in the competition, dial *713*13# or download the TV3 Reality app on Google Play Store or the App Store and follow the prompts. Studio audience is strictly by invitation. GMB 2021, rediscovering true beauty. GMB 2021 shows Sundays at
8 p.m.
and repeats Fridays at 3 p.m. and is sponsored by Lavon's Tomato Mix, Camel now from Kerex, Freedom from Casapreco, GTP, Darling Lemon Drink, Airtel Tigo's Big Time Bundles,
Lufat,
Deluxe Acrylic Paint, Heaven Black Mosquito.